What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about this?
What about that? What about that?
What
What
about
about
that?
that? What about that? What about that?
And we are back. Peace, folk. And welcome back to another edition of the Proper Thought Series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why your black asses are here. Tonight, special show tonight. What's good, brother Obadiah? I see you up there, brother. Tonight, special Saturday edition of What About? Y'all know What About? We get up here and we talk about the things that we don't normally talk about, but we discuss them here. And tonight we're talking about our falsely accused and incarcerated. Y'all may be familiar with the brother on the picture here. His name is Kevin Strickland. He was just released from prison a few days ago, and we're going to highlight his story. We're going to start probably with his story, but there is a greater message in what we're talking about tonight. But y'all know, before we get started, y'all know I always start the stream out with thanking you good folks for your likes, your shares, your views, your subs, and of course, your hard-earned pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and 50-cent pieces. Because you don't have to do it, man. You don't have to watch this goddamn stream. You don't have to show up. You don't have to like these videos. You don't have to sub to this channel. And you definitely don't have to drop your hard-earned coins on this platform. But you good folks choose to do so, man. Night after night, week after week. You're here, man. I don't take you good folks lightly, man. I never have, and I never will. You got my word on that. I'm humbled. I'm honored. I'm appreciative, but most important, I'm thankful for you good folks. And that goes to the folks who hang out there and good folks who hang out up in here. All right. All right. What's good? I see my brothers up in there. Brother Nick Taylor, my brother Perfect Black, my Chi-Town brother. What's good with it, man? Oh, brother Perfect Black. You can come up late if you want to, brother. That's up to you. If you know, I know you usually working and stuff like that. But you know, you could come through if you want to. But we're gonna go ahead, man, and get into this. Cause like I said, tonight, we're talking about this brother here. All right. Like I said, his name is Kevin Strickland. He was locked up for 43 years. And the crazy thing is, man, that's not even the worst of it, man. But we'll get into that, you know, as the night goes on. But he was locked up for 43 years for a crime that he did not commit. Now, 43 years is a long time. All right. A very long time. A lot of people out there tonight, your ass ain't even been alive 43 years. Matter of fact, I'll show y'all something. This is what he looks like now. This is his mugshot when he was a young fella. Because I believe he was locked up when he was 19. Look at the contrast. Look at how he looks here, opposed to how he looks. Damn mic's in the way. Get this shit out of here. Opposed to how he looks now. This picture was taken of him recently. This is him when he was a young fella, 19 years old. Now, y'all may be familiar with the story, right? Because, you know, we as black folk, you know, many of us, you know, we got folks who stay in and out of jail. You know, they do all this kind of nonsense. What's good, brother Paul Game? I see you up there, man. You know, they stay in and out of jail. You know, they always doing all kinds of craziness. And, you know, we kind of make fun of it, right? We make fun of our folks who are always in and out of the damn penitentiary, right? But this is serious, all right? This is very, very serious because this brother here, Kevin Strickland, like I said, he did 43 years, okay, for a crime he didn't commit. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show y'all a few articles, right, about Kevin Strickland, if y'all don't mind. Let me pull them up here. I probably should have already had them pulled up, y'all, because I knew I was going to show them, so I don't know why I don't have them already on the scene. But let's go ahead and pull them up, shall we? Let's see. Go here and there. Right? Now, this article here is from where brother Strickland lives, because you know this happened in Kansas City, Missouri. And this is an article from the Kansas City Star. Let me go ahead and blow it up because I know it's small, y'all. I'll magnify it for you good folk. Magnify it for you good folk. Now it says, who is Kevin Strickland and why is he still in Missouri prison after innocence claims? Now, mind you, this was done on the 23rd, y'all. So this is 4 days ago, right? Now, you also see here highlighted, it says Kansas City man innocent of 1978 triple murder. and should be released, prosecutors say. It says here the Jackson County prosecutors have determined that Kevin Strickland, who spent 40 plus years in prison for a 1978 triple murder, is innocent. The Midwest Innocence Project has filed a petition to overturn the conviction. We go down a little more. Kevin Strickland, 62, has spent the last 40 plus years in prison for a 1978 triple murder he says he did not commit. His lawyers, local prosecutors, and Kansas City officials have urged he be released, but the Missouri Attorney General's office maintains he's guilty. Right? Go down a little more. Jackson County prosecutor Jean Peters Bakers and her team will argue he is innocent and should be freed during an evidentiary hearing that starts Monday at the Jackson County Courthouse. Strickland's case and his fight for freedom have received national attention. Here we answer some of your questions about him. All right. Who is Kevin Strickland? Kevin Strickland, 18 at the time, was living with his family at 5540 Jackson Ave in Kansas City when he was arrested. He had dropped out of Southeast High School and recalled that he recently applied to join the military. He figured he could see the world and marry his girlfriend that way. He was also the father of a 7-week-old daughter. So let's stop there. Not only did they take him away for 43 years, they also took him away from his girlfriend and his child. She was 7 weeks old. So you know what that means? His daughter's 43 now. All right? 43. A lifetime. Because 43 years, y'all, is a lifetime. Make no mistake. Right? So Strickland has maintained his innocence. In the April 25, 1978 shooting at 6934 South Bend Ave that left 20-year-old John Walker, 22-year-old Sherry Black, and 21-year-old Larry Ingram dead. A fourth victim, the only eyewitness to the crime, was wounded. All right? There's a picture of Brother Strickland. Strickland, now 62, has said he was at home during the murders, watching TV and talking on the phone to his girlfriend. The only eyewitness to the killings later recanted her testimony, saying Strickland had been wrongly charged, her relatives say. He remains behind bars at a prison in Cameron, Missouri. We know that this is an older article because the brother has since been released. But let me show y'all something else. Right? Y'all know he's been released. Let's go here. I have nothing. Kevin Strickland will soon be freed, but won't get a dime from Missouri. Think about that. Think about that. Locked up 43 years, and he will not be able to get $1 from the state of Missouri. All right? Not a dime, not a dollar, not a penny. Just out the door and we'll see you. Good luck, sir. Now, most times when people are wrongly convicted and held in jail for any length of time, especially when you're talking about over the course of years, they usually give them like $100,000 per year, right? Now, if they were to give Brother Strickland $100,000 per year he was locked up, that would come out to what, like $4.3 million, right? Something like that, right? 43 years, $100,000. You're talking about $4.3 million. But this is the caveat, all right? In Missouri, they don't give you that unless you've been found innocent by way of DNA evidence. Let me say that again. It doesn't matter how long they've had you locked up. You will get nothing. Even if they admit to making a mistake, you're exonerated, your conviction is set aside, you're deemed innocent. If you were not cleared by DNA evidence, you get nothing. That's right. Nothing. You get nothing. So this man has lost more than 2/3 of his life, and he will get nothing. Now, I know we get up here and, we talk about these things. We talk about brothers who in and out of jail. And, most people that are in prison, they all claim they're innocent. But believe it or not, folks, there are people who are locked up who don't belong there. Now, is that everybody? Absolutely not. Some people, they belong right where the hell they at. But there is a small fraction of brothers who are in there that don't belong there, folks. And Brother Strickland is one of them. Now, I'm going to explain to y'all Brother Strickland's case, right? But first, I'm going to pull up this graph here. Let's see, I'm going to magnify this too, folks, so y'all can see it. Now, this is from the National Registry of Exonerations, Race and Wrongful Convictions. Now, you can see here this circular graph on the top left here. African Americans, 13% of the U.S. population. Known exonerations, African Americans, 47% of the people that have been exonerated after being falsely arrested, falsely accused, falsely convicted, and falsely serving time, damn near 50% of them are Black. Let's move down a little bit. Says here, murder. Black people are 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder than white people. African Americans in prison for murder are more likely to be innocent if they were convicted of killing white victims. Murders with white victims, 15%. 85% African American murder convictions. Wrongfully convicted of murdering a white person, 31%. Move down a little more. Murder exonerations with white defendants. Now you see the orange badge, including police misconduct. You see the yellow badge without police misconduct. And you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10 police misconduct. 60% were due to police misconduct, which caused the exonerations. White defendants. Murder exonerations with Black defendants, 7.5, 75%. Quite a difference. Says here, on average, Black murder exonerees spend 3 years longer in prison before release than white exonerees. In other words, if you're Black and you were falsely accused falsely convicted, you are more likely to spend 3 more years on that wrongful conviction than a white person who was wrongly convicted, right? But let's go over here. Sexual assault. A black person serving time for sexual assault is 3.5 times more likely to be innocent than a white sexual assault convict. The major cause is misidentification of black defendants by white victims. Because you know, all black folks, we look alike. And half of all sexual assault exonerations, where mistaken identification is a factor, the defendant was black and the victim was white. 50% of sexual assault exonerations where mistaken identification is a factor, the defendant was black and the victim was white. So you are more likely to be wrongly accused, arrested, and convicted of sexual assault if the victim is white. Because all black folks, we look alike. Y'all know how it go. Yeah, that's him. He did it. Yeah, that's him. He did it. Now, it says here, I know it's too small for y'all to see because I can damn near see it myself. As a matter of fact, I need the goddamn specs. Hold on, y'all. Gotta put the specs on for them for this one, y'all. Damn, they need to be cleaned. Try to scramble my way through it, folks. It says sexual assault exoneration where mistaken identity is a factor. Like I said, 50% black defendant, white victim. This combination only occurs in about 11% of all sexual assaults in the United States. All sexual assaults in the United States, I think that's about 4.5% black defendants, white victims. Truly. African American sexual assault exonerees spent 4.5 years longer in prison than white sexual assault exonerees. Again, if you're wrongly accused, arrested, and convicted, you will spend 4.5 more years in jail clearing yourself than a white person who's been wrongly convicted. But let's go back up here because I don't want this to slip by, right? Drug cases. Innocent African Americans are 12 times more likely to be convicted of drug possession than innocent white people. In Harris County, Texas, 133 defendants pled guilty to drug possession, but lab tests later showed they had no illegal drugs. Now, how the hell do you get charged with drug possession without illegal drugs? That doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to you folk. So in other words, they get them in there, they pressure them, they make them plea. And then once they run the lab tests, there is no drugs. Isn't that something? Let's move down a little bit. Says here, since 1989, more than 1,800 defendants have been cleared in group exonerations that followed 15 large-scale police scandals in which officers systematically framed innocent defendants. The great majority were African-American defendants who were framed for a drug crime that never occurred. Now, I know y'all probably can't see this circular pie chart here, but this is the Harris County drug crime guilty plea exonerations. 62% of them were black. The Harris County population only has 20% of black folk, according to this graph. But let's move down a little bit. Now, we know that when it comes to the criminal justice system, there is always going to be some unfairness, right? The criminal justice system is just like anything else, right? It's part of the government. Government isn't perfect. So the criminal justice system is not going to be perfect. But looking at these articles and these charts that I just showed y'all, it seems rather strange that so many people that have been exonerated just mysteriously happen to be black. Let's get this out of here. I'll bring up some other stuff later. But let's talk about brother Kevin Strickland, right? Like I told y'all before, he spent 43 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. So let me tell y'all what happened to brother Strickland. On April 25th, 1978 in Kansas City, Missouri, 3 people were killed when a group of assailants, they ransacked the house. Like I told y'all before, the victims were 22-year-old Cherie Black, a 21-year-old Larry Ingram, and 20-year-old John Walker. Another woman, Cynthia Douglas, Ingram's girlfriend at the time, was shot in the leg. She pretended to be dead until the attackers left. And after they left, she crawled out of the house. All of the victims were tied up and shot. Strickland, who was 18 at the time, said that he was home watching television and talking on the phone, and that the next morning police began accusing him of the murders. Now, 2 suspects, someone named Kim Adams and Vincent Bell, were later arrested. Bell was a childhood friend of Strickland and lived at a house nearby. Police found a fingerprint belonging to Strickland on Bell's car. Strickland says this was because he had driven the car before, but the last time he had seen Atkins and Bell was 5 or 6 p.m. on the night of the murders. A fingerprint from the shotgun used in the murders belonged to someone other than Strickland, who has not yet been identified. Douglas, the only eyewitness, later picked Strickland out of a police lineup. Douglas later said she was pressured into naming him as one of the perpetrators. Because, see, there's a lot of that shit that goes on, too, down at the precinct, where the police actually press people, man, push people to identify people in crimes and shit, threaten them, claim they're going to arrest them if they don't talk. They get suspects down there and say, oh, just admit to doing it and you can go home. And a lot of us, we stupid. We will believe everything that come out of white folks' mouth, even if they the police and they've just arrested us. So she said, yeah, it was him. I saw him. Right? We continue. They say up until her death in 2015, she tried to recant her testimony. They say in 2009, she emailed the Midwest Innocence Project saying, I am seeking info on how to keep someone that was wrongfully accused. I want to help them. I was the only eyewitness, and things were not clear back then. But now I know more, and I would like to help the person if I can. Douglas said the police told her, just pick Strickland out of the lineup and we'll be done. It will all go away. You can go on and you don't have to worry about these guys no more. Atkins and Bell confessed to the murders, but said Strickland was not a participant. Now, mind you, they confessed. They said this brother had nothing to do with it. They said it, the trigger men. But of course, the police didn't believe them. Now, the police will believe them if they say he was part of it, but they won't believe him if they say he's not. See how that works? They'll only believe you if you're condemning someone. But if you're trying to exonerate someone, absolutely not. We don't believe you. Like I said, the shooter, Brother Atkins and Brother Bell, they confessed to the murders and said Strickland was not there. But somehow he's still arrested off of the witness testimony, which, like I said, she later recanted. Now, Strickland's first trial ended in a hung jury. He had one black jurist, and they refused to find him guilty. So after that mistrial, the prosecutor approached his lawyer and said, I'll make sure this doesn't happen next time. Strickland's current lawyer, Tricia Reho Bushnell of the Midwest Innocent Project, said the prosecutor used each of his preemptory challenges to strike black jurors. He didn't want no black jurors in there. He thought if he had more black jurors in there, the brother might get off. So they made sure they plucked black jurors off of the jury. And let's talk about that for a minute, man. Because we talk about justice, right? We talk about criminal justice, and we talk about the lack thereof. This prosecutor wouldn't have been able to do that if there were more black jurors. And I'll tell you why. Because they can only pluck out so many. They can only take out so many. So if you want to be part of justice, y'all need to be getting in there on those juries. Overrun it with black folks. Make sure so many black folks in there that if they pluck out 20, there's still 200 more black folks there. You can't pluck out all of them because they can only take out so many. Because that's something that the lawyers get to do when they do jury selection, right? They have these preemptory challenges where they can, say, we don't want this juror, we don't want this juror, we want this one, we don't want that one. And more than likely, when a black man goes to trial, they probably make it their business to pluck black people out of it. Make sure they do. They don't want black people in there empathizing with the defendant. Because for some reason, and I don't know why white folk think this, they think that we have this loyalty to each other for some reason. That if I'm black and you black, we gonna stick together. Boy, they don't know much about black people, do they? Do they? So if we want justice in these cases, man, there's got to be more black people on these juries. And guess what? I think the most prominent way, the most sure way to be on jury is if you're a registered voter. Because I think that's where they pull the names from. The registered voters list. If you're not a registered voter, you probably won't be called for jury duty. And if you do get called for jury duty, man, go. Especially if it's a brother-owned trial. Go. Who knows? You might get down there and he might be guilty as hell. But then again, you go down there and once you've looked at the evidence, you may think otherwise. I mean, we're always talking about, how black people get treated and the injustices that's done to black folks and how biased the courts are and how biased criminal justice is. So why not go in there, man, and be a small part of it? In fact, be a big part of it. Why not? I mean, we've got to be tired of bitching and moaning when we can actually go down there and do something. Right? Or no? But we continue. Now, they pulled out these black jurors. And of course, the next trial, they had an all-white jury. Strickland was convicted in 1979, 1 year after being arrested and sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole for 50 years. So he had 7 more years to go before he even got close to even getting parole. Now, Adams and Bell, who were the shooters, they cut plea bargains, pled guilty, and were sentenced to 20 years each. Right? Each of them serving less than 10 years. Others were suspected but not charged. Strickland tried to appeal his case in 1980, but it was dismissed by the Supreme Court of Missouri. Now, mind you, he took it to trial because he was innocent, obviously. He got convicted, doing 50 years to life. Now, the shooters who confessed said he had nothing to do with it, said he wasn't there. They took pleas, got 20 years, did less than 10. And these are the people who really did it. They did less than 10 years. This man did 43 years and he wasn't even there. Why? Because, see, legality, criminal justice, has nothing to do with right and wrong. Let me say that again. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. It has to do with what can be proven legally, what cannot be proven legally. And can they convince a judge or a jury to convict you? That's what it's about. Has nothing to do with right or wrong. Because what they did to Brother Strickland was wrong. But what they did to Brother Strickland was legal. It was wrong, but it was legal. And that's what I'm talking about. So what happens, man? What happens to these brothers, man? What happens to them after they've been exonerated, after decades inside the penitentiary. Their wives have left them, possibly died. Their parents dead. Their children have forgotten them, especially in cases of Missouri, because even if you can prove that they've convicted you falsely, wrongfully, when you get out, they give you nothing unless you've been cleared by DNA. If you haven't been cleared by DNA evidence, you get nothing. They just open the door and say, sorry about those 40 years of your life we took. We apologize about those 40 years. Good luck. Good luck. But fortunately for Mr. Strickland, they started a GoFundMe for the brother. And I think it's at $1 million presently. I do believe it's about $1 million. So the OG's going to be okay. Yeah, he's going to be okay. Now, does that $1 million bring his life back? Does that $1 million amount, does it make things okay? And even if he had, say for instance, he had gotten something, the $100,000 a year that they give people when they're wrongfully convicted, he would have got $4.3 million. But with that $4 million, I mean, of course, he'd be able to live the rest of his life pretty nice, buy a house, car, live comfortably. But what about those 43 years? What about everything he's lost? His life, his family, his relationships, time. What about that? How do you fix this? The answer is you don't. You don't fix this even if it's 4 years. Who knows what Brother Strickland could have become, what he could have done. He said he was going to join the military. Who knows what the brother could have did with his life? Who knows what those 40 some odd years would have been for him? And I know it's probably people that we know or we've heard of that this has happened to. Their lives, man, taken away. Their lives gone. It's 40 years, man, is a freaking lifetime. And I believe now the brother's like 62, 63 now. He doesn't have many years left. So who fixes this? Who fixes that? And like I told y'all, I showed y'all the graph. But I want to show y'all this again. That's Mr. Strickland now. That's him when he was arrested, when he was 19. A mere shadow of his younger self. They took his life away, man. And I'll say again, I know, people in prison, most of them probably belong there. People like Brother Strickland are a minority. Everybody in prison is not innocent, y'all. Don't even begin to think that. Everybody in prison is not innocent. But people like Brother Strickland are. So how do we stop this from happening? Is that even possible? What about that? What stops this from happening? What stops it, man? What prevents this? Now, over the course of the last week or so, we've seen 2 trials that have gotten national coverage. The Rittenhouse trial and also the trial of the folk who killed Ahmaud Arbery. And like I said, legality has nothing to do with right or wrong. It's usually about what you can prove and what you can't, right? And to be honest, sometimes it's about who has the better lawyers. Let's be honest. If your lawyers are better than the prosecutor, you stand a better chance of winning, even if you've done it. Even if you've done what they accused you of, if your lawyers are better, you'll probably win. And likewise, if the prosecutor is better than your lawyer, even if you're innocent, you're more likely to lose. So there is no real justice per se when that's the case, right? Because if you're innocent, you should be able to walk in there with any old kind of lawyer and beat it, right? Because you're innocent. Because you're innocent, you should be able to walk in there with any old kind of lawyer and walk on out the door, right? And likewise, someone who really did it, the prosecutor should be able to convict them easily. But we know that's not the case. And usually when you're talking about Black folks, let's be honest, many Black folk that find themselves locked up, arrested, especially for something serious, they may not have access to a decent lawyer. They may have to rely on a public defender, somebody who isn't going to take your case all that seriously. Because they got 100 more people that they got to freaking defend this week. So they can't even spend too much time on your case. Right? How much time can they spend on your case when they have 99 other people's cases that they're dealing with? I've always told people that if you find yourself, man, in trouble, especially if something's serious, do whatever you got to do to get you a lawyer. Sell your car, sell your dog, sell your Jordans, sell whatever you could possibly sell to get you a lawyer. Don't ever rely on the damn public defender. Absolutely not. Public defender works for the same people who are trying to prosecute you. The same person that signs the prosecutor's check is probably the same person that signs the public defender's check. Why would you want that person representing you? He doesn't have your best interests in mind. I agree with you, Lady Deborah. I agree with you. I agree with you. It does have the best justice system in the world. I've watched other trials from other countries, boy, and yeah, I agree with you, Lady Deborah. But it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Nothing is. Because if it was perfect, brothers like Kevin Strickland wouldn't have done 43 years. Kevin Strickland would have never gotten arrested. He definitely would have never gotten convicted. But I say again, how do we prevent this? I ask the question, how do we prevent this? Because what about these people? What if this was your brother, your father, your son, your uncle? And I know many of us, we often say, hey, you don't do the crime if you can't do the time. But what if you didn't do the crime? Now what? Should you still have to do the time? The answer is yes. Especially if you have prosecutors who are hell-bent on pinning this crime on someone. You have cops who will go to any length to get confessions out of folks, pressure folks to say they did it, pressure folks to identify someone. We're always going to have this kind of stuff, man. We're always going to have these kind of things. Because even if someone is guilty of something, as the prosecutor, they should be able to prove it, man, beyond a shadow of a doubt, right? There shouldn't be any holes. Shouldn't be anything. Because there's a saying, man, it's better to have 100 guilty people go free than to have one innocent person locked up. And I agree with that. I'd rather see 100 criminals be out on the loose, as opposed to an innocent brother having his whole life taken away from him. And shout out to my Chi-Town brother, Perfect Black. He says, if you are non-black, this is indeed the best system in the world. If you are black and male, this is arguably the worst system on the planet. I appreciate that, Perfect Black. My brother, when you drop cards on this platform, you get this. I appreciate you dropping your hard-earned coins on this platform. Yeah, so, let's talk about this, folks. Anybody want to come up and discuss it? Y'all know what to do. The email is prophetofthought@yahoo.com. That's prophetofthought, one word, no caps, @yahoo.com. Come on up, man. Let me know what you're thinking. It's open tonight. It's a Saturday night. We're talking our falsely accused and incarcerated. I want to know what you good folk have to say about it, if anything. Do you even care? Do you care? Because what about these people, man? These people who get released after doing 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Can they ever snap back? Can they ever get right? You've been in prison, man, for 20, 30, 40 years, boy. You're behind everything. You're behind on everything. Everything. You have to relearn how to live in this world. You know how much this world has changed in 40 years? Technology, how things are, the price of clothing, food, housing, all of that. All of that has changed in 40 years. Because, like I said, 40 years is a lifetime. 43 years, some of you out there ain't even 43 years old. If you've requested the email, make sure you check you've requested the link. Make sure you check your emails, vote. Make sure you check your email, vote. If you've requested the link, How about it, man? What would be going on through your mind if this was your brother? What would be going on through your mind if this was your father? Correct again. I agree with you again, Lady Deborah. They should be compensated. They should be. But Brother Strickland will not be. I don't know how long you've been listening, Lady Deborah, but the state that he's in, the only way you get compensated is if you were cleared by DNA evidence. If DNA didn't clear you, you get nothing. Just being innocent isn't enough. You have to be cleared by DNA evidence to get a dime. And see, he wasn't cleared by DNA evidence. He was just cleared by evidence. By evidence. So he gets the goose egg for those 43 years. But like I said, they did put a GoFundMe up for him. And so far, I think it's at $1 million. And he's only been out a couple days. So I think he's going to be fine. He'll probably get more money through GoFundMe than he would have gotten from the state anyway. Because the state, I think the max they'll give you is like $100,000 per year that you were locked up. So Brother Strickland would have got like $4.3 million. I think he's already at $1 million on his GoFundMe. So, he'll probably end up with like 9. He might end up with like 8, 9 million before it's all over. So he'll be fine. His life is going to be fine. He's going to be fine, right? Millions of dollars. He's going to live comfortably, have a house and food and water and lights and a car and all that kind of stuff. But those 43 years are gone. I don't think millions of dollars fixes that. I just don't think it could be $20 million. It's not going to fix those 43 years. And I'm not just talking about him. I'm talking about other brothers. Because there's been quite a few brothers who have been freed. All right? Exonerated. The brothers who they claim killed Malcolm X were cleared. They spent years in jail. One of them actually died already. He's already dead. So he went to his grave with that on him. He didn't even live to see himself get exonerated. He went to his grave falsely accused, falsely imprisoned. So what about these people, man? What about these people? Do we even care? I'm not sure we do. Peace, my brother. Brother Perfect Black. What's good with it, man?
What's good? What's good, brother X, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. You got it.
That's good, man. Look, man, these type of cases, man, with these falsely accused, man, and people spending time in prison and all of that, man, that type of stuff, man, it for me it hits home. I wasn't incarcerated, but I damn sure could have behind some false shit. And somebody said, I forget who said it, this is the best system in the world, in the world. Yeah, if you are not black and male, yeah, this is the best system for you. You got other people that are selling their own selling their mothers and stepping over each other to get over here, because they know when they get over here, the system ain't gonna be as bad as it is for black folks, especially in particular black men. So yeah, I mean, it's the best system that money can buy. It's the best in the world. But if you black and male, you might as well be in the goddamn third world country. I mean, I honestly think, at a certain level, that this country may get some type of sexual gratification that's seeing us suffer. All those years, I'm 46 years old. Man been in prison since I was 3 years old.
Yes.
And he gets nothing from the state.
Nothing.
And they have no compunction about doing it. If he was white, he would have got something. Trust me, this would have been national news. The president would have said something about it. They would have changed the laws and everything. They would have been forced to change the state laws forthwith and everything. Black men, nope, nobody care. Go get your GoFundMe.
Yeah.
So when people say that this is the best system in the world, like I said, I agree with them, but only half-heartedly. Because that depends on who you are. Like I said, if you're black and male, this is not the best system in the world. If you're a white male, yeah, it probably is the best system. Or Hispanic, somebody else, yeah, it's a good system. If I was one of them, I wouldn't want to be nowhere else either. But if you're black and male, man, you might as well be in Afghanistan.
Yeah, because you got to think, right? You got to consider the fact that, how can it really be justice if you can only get justice if you can afford it, right? I do believe that Brother Strickland, he was represented by, public defenders. You're talking 43 years ago, so the public defender's office probably was like whatever. I mean, I can't imagine that, the public defender's office was like this great thing back then, because I'm pretty sure it's not a great thing now. So he was pretty much handed over, to the criminal justice system, which is what you're probably going to be, if you're being represented by the public defender's office, because they don't give a damn about you. They got like 1,000 cases that they're handling at one time. So, I mean, they don't have time to focus on your case. They want to get you in, get you out, and be done with it. They're hoping that you plea, so they don't have to waste a lot of time, on you.
Right.
You're probably being a real pain in the ass if you're telling them, well, I want to take this to trial.
Yeah, and you're right. I studied law for a couple of years, and I actually interned as well. Um, so I do have a kind of a bit of a soft spot, for when it comes to the law. But I also know that, and I know that that public defenders, the lawyers, they're actually good. Those are actually some good attorneys. They are literally just overworked. They don't even have time to even research the cases that are in front of that they are supposed to, defend. They don't even know. I've seen them. They don't even know these people. They're just a number. They have nothing, no history of the case. Haven't had any time to to look into the facts and circumstances of the case. They just get a folder, and they are to defend that person as best as they can.
Yeah.
So, and these are a lot of these are people that have went to the same schools as a many of the private attorneys. The same schools. It's just that they're just overworked. But I will say, if even in today's time, if you have a public defender and you lose your case, that in and of itself is grounds for appeals for ineffective assistance of counsel. Because of the very facts of for the very things that we state. They're overworked. They're not even looking in the case. They're not able to. They're not able to like actually fight the case. If you have a public defender who can actually fight the case, most of the people would be off. It wouldn't be as bad, because these are really competent attorneys. It's just that they just don't have the time to actually, because this stuff takes time, to draw up motions and all this other type of stuff. You have to study the case. You have to, you have to look at police records and all kinds of stuff. I mean, but they just don't have time. So this guy, I mean, this Strickland was he had a public defender. They served him up, especially during 1978.
Yeah.
You still got many white folks still got Dr. King ringing in their ears. So yeah, they couldn't wait to lock up any nigga that they could. And even now, I think it's still like that now. Thank God that I didn't, because I was accused several times by my ex-wife about some mess. I thank God that it wasn't in 1978. I'd probably still be in prison right now.
Yeah. Because that, and I had put up a graph earlier. Many of those cases where brothers find themselves convicted falsely accused, and falsely imprisoned, it's usually on someone's word. It's not evidence, they found your DNA, or they saw you on film, or they got your footprint, or none of that. It's because someone said you did it.
Right. Just because someone said it, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. No evidence, no anything. Just, yep, you did it. That's it.
And it's too many. There are too many people being exonerated, just strictly, who are being convicted strictly just on one eyewitness alone. It's too many. Something needs to be changed in that. I'm not really sure, but something needs to be changed in that, to where people just can't be convicted just strictly on an eyewitness. Especially if we have all those other circumstances that are around it. You got people say, no, you didn't do it. The people who were convicted said that they didn't do it. But yet you still get convicted. Now, this is something is really is something I'm not really sure, like, because I'm not a legal scholar. I don't know what can be done on that. You know, when you got an eyewitness saying that you did it, but you have a lot of people being exonerated, in particular, a lot of black folks being exonerated because one single eyewitness has recanted.
Yeah. And see, that's my issue, right? Like with Brother Strickland here. The people who were the shooters, they
Mm-hmm.
confessed and they said he wasn't there. They said he had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But one person who later recanted said he was there and he was arrested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. I mean, you got the shooter saying, yeah, we shot him and this guy had nothing to do with it. You would think that, that'd be a case closed, book closed, this guy goes home. But no.
It makes total sense to me.
But no.
It makes total sense to me. 1978. That's one factor.
Yeah.
Black male. That's another factor.
Yeah.
Public defender. That's a perfect storm. That spells conviction.
So they wouldn't believe the shooters when the shooter said he wasn't there. But I bet you they would have believed him if they said he was.
Oh, yeah.
If he would have said, yeah, he was there too, that would have bolstered their case. But it couldn't free the brother, though. Go ahead.
Right. And that's why, when people say that this is the best system that money can buy, this is the best system in the world, I point to cases like this. I have to, I point to cases like that. And then particularly when you look at, the people being exonerated, mostly black men, I point to that.
Yeah.
I mean, this one demographic, black males, continue to be exonerated. Single eyewitness DNA, which I think that's Missouri law, is more of a loophole than anything else to not pay people, because they know a lot of these cases, DNA wasn't even a factor.
Yeah.
They know DNA is not a factor in every case, but they did that as more of a loophole so they don't have to pay nobody. It shows you the insidious nature. It shows you the insidious nature of these people who create these laws. They know what they're doing. These are not dumb people. These are not stupid people writing these laws. These are mostly lawyers themselves.
Yeah.
Most of the people that are in Congress all across the nation and the ones in Washington D.C. Most of the people are lawyers by trade. So they know exactly what the hell that they're doing when they write this stuff. You can only get paid if you're only exonerated from DNA, knowing full well that a lot of cases that people are serving that DNA is not a factor in a lot of these cases.
Absolutely,
they know that.
Especially if you're going back to cases that were like in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, they weren't convicted by way of DNA.
They mostly, especially black men, they were mostly convicted based upon someone said.
Yep. Eyewitness testimony.
On an eyewitness testimony.
Which is usually the least reliable of it all. Especially when you're talking about white victims. I had the graph up and I might bring it up again. Especially if you're talking about white folks, right? They're quick to believe a white person if they say you've done it. You're the culprit. Exactly.
I mean, and it's a lot of cases like this that are out there. How many black men that are Mr. Strickland's age that are in prison right now for some of the things that they didn't do? Forget about the nation. How many in Missouri?
Yeah.
They know this. They know it's a whole bunch of black men, Mr. Strickland's age, and maybe older, maybe a little younger, who are in prison behind very suspicious circumstances. They know this. So they write a law like that, knowing full well that, coming down the line, there's going to be a lot of cases like Mr. Strickland coming down the pike, and we're going to be paying up a bunch of goddamn money. We might want to put something in there and say, well, that's going to make it very hard for these guys to get paid.
Yeah.
So they say this DNA thing.
Yeah. I mean, because you look at, I got the chart back up here.
Yeah.
We're 13% of the population, right? But we're 47% of the exonerations
I mean,
that
that
happen
is
in this country.
exact. That is an egregious uh, 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 contrast there.
Yeah.
That is an egregious contrast. Anyone looking at that type of contrast right there, and still say that this is the best system in the world, you're sick.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion. Because again, it's the best system in the world for who? Who are we talking about here? Immigrants? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be the best system. It's better than where you come from, absolutely. If you are a Middle Eastern, absolutely, yes. Asian, yeah, you're honorary white anyway.
Honorary white, honorary white
But
folk.
for a black male, no, this is not the best system in the world. If you are a black American man, this is not the best system for you. It is not. I'm not saying something's out there is better, but I can probably point to a couple of systems that's work. That's probably better.
Yeah, man. And even with that, okay, fine. They have this thing called the Innocence Project, who have gotten a lot of brothers out of jail. All right. They've gotten a lot of brothers out of there. But even with those type of things, it's still a brother will spend more time on a charge that he's been falsely or wrongfully convicted of than a white person will.
The white folks will get out faster, get out sooner.
I mean,
no, not the black men.
Yeah.
They slow play the release. You have a DA saying, no, let's get this person out, but the doggone attorney general saying, no, I think he's guilty.
Yeah.
See how that works?
Yeah. They hell bent on keeping a person in there, man, even when the evidence says this person is innocent, because being innocent, it appears to me that being innocent isn't enough to get you out of prison.
No. Not if you're a black male.
Yeah, being innocent doesn't get you out of prison. Which to me makes no sense, because being innocent shouldn't have got you in there in the first place. But now that you've proved that you're innocent, they still keep you in there. They will still keep you in there, even though you've been proven innocent. Makes no sense.
Right. You said it makes no sense. To me, it makes perfect sense. Because black male. See, we see what's going on here. We see it. The demographic, the numbers is right there. You got the pie chart showing and all that. No other demographic can actually point to this type of disparity when it comes to this, other than black males. See, we see what's going on. I would like for people to say, okay, specific. Well, why? Why is that? Why is it that America has such a hard time with black males? Why?
Weird,
what is
man.
What is this need to incarcerate black men and to keep them, even though they have been proven to be innocent? What is this need? So I think that needs to be researched.
Absolutely.
What's going on in the psyche of America, where there's a need to incarcerate black men at the numbers and the ways that they're doing it for whatever they don't give a damn. Just lock them up. I don't care. Just lock them up. Just lock them up and keep them there. What does that need to do that?
Any old black man will do. I'm looking here, and it says since 1989, more than 1,800 defendants have been cleared in group exonerations that followed 15 large-scale police scandals in which officers systematically framed innocent defendants. The great majority were black defendants who were framed for drug crimes that never even occurred. In other words, they never had drugs. They didn't find any drugs, but somehow they have drugs on them now, and they're arrested for drugs.
And see, and this is see, and again, I don't normally, even when I'm on these plans, I don't really, pay attention to the chat. But what is it? Cyber say, can we get an example of a better system? Look, I haven't been to every, I have traveled abroad. I haven't been to every system, or anything like that. But to people that ask questions like that, to that I would say, I would ask them, if you are a black man, how could you substantiate the idea that this is the best system in the world when we have that as a reality? Well, black men have been proven to be for being framed by law enforcement, no less, by the very system that we say is good. And I agree. If you are non-black, if you are a non-black male, this is the absolute best system on the planet. I agree. But if you're a black male, that same statement cannot be made. I'm sorry. I challenge anybody with that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When you have that as a reality for black men, I'm sorry. When you look at this, when you look at those pie charts and statistics and numbers, I defy anybody to say that, well, this is the best system in the world for black American men. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah, and to add to that, brother Cyber, I mean, me personally, I don't think this is a solution, but it is part of a solution, brother Cyber. I think that any cases that even have a hint of impropriety, a hint of police misconduct, a hint of prosecutorial misconduct should be looked at. Now, how far back should we go? I don't know. I mean, this guy was cleared after 43 years. The brothers who allegedly had shot Malcolm X were cleared after what it's been like almost 60 years. I mean, how far do we go back? I don't know. But those cases should be looked at. Any cases that have any inkling, I mean, any inkling of impropriety by the judge, by the prosecutor, by the police, by anybody should be looked at. They should be relooked at, reinvestigated. And if these people are proven to be innocent, these people should be ultimately set free. And of course, these people should be compensated when they've lost 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their lives. I mean, if you done committed a crime and you really did it, your ass belong in prison. I don't know for how long, but if you did something, you belong in there. But likewise, if you're a person who's done nothing and you've sat in there for decade on top of decade on top of decade, you should be set free. And not only should you be set free, you should be set out, because they could never cost $200 million is not enough for a person who's lost their whole life, 2/3 of their whole life. You can't give them enough money to compensate for that. That's what I believe. Something should be done. It shouldn't be just nothing. Something should be done to fix this and try to keep this from ever happening again. That's what I think is part of the solution. Is that going to be perfect? Absolutely not. It's not, but it's a goddamn start. But go ahead. You got it, brother Perfect Black.
I mean, absolutely, man. I mean, you mentioned the Malcolm X assassination. Look, man, anybody, I mean, it's been, as long as I have been living, as long as I've been aware, as long as I've been reading, I've read a lot of books. As long as I've known, it's been general knowledge within the black community in general that almost open knowledge that, yeah, the folks that they arrested for Malcolm X's murder really aren't the people that did it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, I mean, this is This is not. This is. It was almost like an open secret. We all knew that. It just took all this time for for them for it to be admitted. This is nothing new for us. But again, that's yet another case that I point to involving black men, that I point to when people say that this is the best system. I'm not saying it's the worst in the world. Please, I have to distinguish that. If you are a non-black male, this is the best system in the world for. It is, absolutely. It is the best. No, it is the number one system. But if you're a black man, you can't say that because you're not protected at the same level. No, you're not. In a time where you got people who are still sitting in prison right now from the idea of any nigga to do.
Yeah.
Any nigga to do. Man, you ask what was you doing? I was just sitting at home watching TV. Next thing I know, I'm serving time for murder, for a triple murder. What other demographic can you say is that type of reality repeated so often? No other demographic in America can point to example after example after example after example, that type of thing happening. Where they are just, I was just at home. I was just hanging out with my boy. That's, I'm getting questioned and somebody's pointing me out for a triple murder. I don't even know what the hell, I don't know what the hell happened. How can that type of reality exist in such a good system? How could such a blatant travesty, just a blatant miscarriages of justice at so many levels? Because this system has a lot of redundancies built into it. How could something like that happen at so many levels and be maintained over the amount of time? How could that happen in such a perfect system?
Well,
or in such a good system?
My question is, if he had better representation, would he had gotten off? Because the first trial, it was a hung jury, right? It was a mistrial. It was a hung jury. And, the second trial, the prosecutor was able to use his preempts, and he was able to make sure there was no more black people on the jury, because the last trial, they had that one holdout that happened to be a black person. They didn't want to convict, so it was a mistrial. So they plucked all the black folks off the jury.
And that's the system, right? Because the system allows for that, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So will the system allow for a black DA to remove all white jurors?
I wonder.
Sit back and wrap your mind around that. For a white defendant, all white juries have been stricken.
Yeah.
Will this system allow that to happen?
We want all black folks on this jury.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's something to think about, but we talking about, it was 1978. So things, probably were a little different, especially when you talk about the criminal justice system. Things were a little crazier back then. I don't think they'd be able to get away with that now. I don't think they'd be able to get away with it, where they will just systematically pluck off all the black folks off the jury. I don't think they'd be able to get away with that now.
Well, they got away with it no more in the that trial down there, where they got just left with one black juror. Now, of course, all of the Ahmaud Arbery, of course, he was still convicted, but the idea that they can just remove all the black jurors with the exception of one.
Yeah.
They did that in today's society.
But don't you think that has a lot to do with, well, part of it is that there's not enough black jurors. I mean, and that would, maybe, and I have to admit this is more anecdotal, but I do have pushback on that, because there are a lot of registered black voters. Yes. Yes.
There are a lot of registered black voters, but yet time and time again, you don't see a lot of black voters sitting on these juries. Everybody that I know that are adults, well, most people that I know that are adults here, they're registered voters.
Yeah. I don't know
they don't get called for jury duty.
I don't know about this, lady Angel. She says black jurors have the highest juror bias of all people in studies.
See,
So
there it is.
black people probably shouldn't be on juries at all where there is an interracial dynamic. But how can you say that though?
You see the absurdity in that. I mean, look at what she said. Think about the wrap your head around what she just said.
How can you say that though?
Right. What she just said, she has just justified. Straight is yeah. If you have a black a person on, yeah, just take all the black people because black people don't have the ability to. Do you see
Lady,
see the uproar in this?
Lady Angel, you got to come up here and explain that one. You got to come up here and explain that one. The email is properthought@yahoo.com. It's properthought, one word, no caps, @yahoo.com. You got to come up here and explain that.
Please do. And I'm not going to cuss her out, but because if anything, I'm going to challenge her on, but I'm going to challenge her logically. That right there, it crystallizes. It just shows right there. I mean, you see how easy it is for society to just say, to just walk all over the rights of black folks. I mean, she said this on an open a social media forum that this was okay to do this.
Yeah, Lady Angel, you got to come up here and explain that one. I mean, you got to come up here and lay your case out on that one. I mean, because
I like to hear it.
Because what she's saying, what you're saying, Lady Angel, is that if there's a black-white dynamic, black folks shouldn't be on the jury because they're too biased. So if that's the case, if it's a black-white dynamic, that means it shouldn't be any white folks on there either, right? I mean,
but see what she said. This is what DAs actually believe. They believe this. They believe what she just said. This is the reason why they go to try to strike all black jurors off the jury, because they believe every word what she just said.
Because if there's a black defendant and he's accused of doing something to a white victim, whether it be murder or sexual assault or assault or whatever, are you saying that the black people are more likely to let the black man off? Is that what you? Well, I'll let her explain it because she says she's going to come up here, so I'll let her explain it. We'll hold that question for you, Lady Angel, and anybody else who wants to come up here and lay out their case. You see the email up there. It's properthought@yahoo.com. It's properthought, one word, no caps, @yahoo.com. If you wish to get up here and lay out your argument, if you requested the link, please check your email. If you requested the link, check your email, folks.
And she says that whites don't show the same jury bias in studies.
Even when I'll wait till she get up here. I'll wait till she comes here. Yeah, you got to lay this. You got to lay this one out. You got to lay this one out.
To say nothing of the history of this nation, up against what she just said. To say nothing of the history of what she just said, including Mr. Strickland's.
Yeah.
So that jury was totally unbiased. I mean, it's absurd to be able to make that statement, regardless in the face of the history of this nation, even the present, not going back 50 years of the present history now. Right now, we have DAs who are spending all legal theory that they can to keep as many black folks off the jury. That's the reason why I say I have to push back against that. We have to be registered to vote. Black folks are registered. Black folks are registering. They're just not getting called for jury duty. That's just the bare knuckles of it.
Yeah.
And when you start to look into specifically how people are really called to jury, it isn't just that simple as they're picking from they're just picking randomly from a registered voter pool. If that was the case, there'd be a lot more black jurors on jury.
Mm.
It's not being done that way. And a lot of the places is so convoluted, but the outcome is always going to be more whites sitting on the jury in a municipality where blacks make up 20 or even 30 or 40% of the population. But you get 1, 2, maybe 3 jurors.
We have been joined by Lady Angel Martin. Now, Lady Angel, you got the latest one out. I want to hear
Okay,
this.
let me lay it out, because I wasn't saying that like it should be done as in it can be done, or that I would necessarily do it, because I don't think that it's as frustrating as it is. It's not you can't apply the average to the individual in any case. But it's not just the juror bias studies. In studies consistently across all contexts, Black people are the most likely to not be able to separate race from an issue. And I think we see that all the time. And I don't think anybody can look at the headlines recently and say that we're not seeing that this is it's because I would say it's even harder as time progresses than it was even 20 years ago. I think it was probably there would have been less bias 20 years ago. But this is just something that seems to be getting worse somehow as opposed to better. And I recognize that 50 years ago, white people thought more like Black people do today, where they put their tribe before everything else. I'm not saying that was right. I don't like it when anybody does it. I used to be mad at white people because I thought they did it. I was stuck in the past. I hadn't actually seen any evidence of it in real life in my lifetime. I'm not very old, though, obviously, but I was very angry with white people most of my life because I thought that's how white people thought, because I was told that by the media, even though, like I said, I didn't know any white people that acted that way or seemed to even care about white anything. But now we see it's become such an integral part. I mean, it's Black this, Black everything. You can't separate that from a verdict. I don't believe that you could get a jury pool where you would have a large quantity, especially in a lot of like larger metropolitan areas, where you wouldn't have 1 million people on the jury in the jury pool that were going to try to somehow upend systemic racism with their verdict. I mean, do you really think that? I mean, am I like all this woke crap that's going on? It's hard enough to get a white jury to be objective right now. With all, if they're young, if they're millennials. I mean, because they're it was ridiculous that it took 4 days for the verdict for Rittenhouse to be delivered. I mean, 4 days, clearest case of self-defense ever, took 4 days.
Yeah, but so what you're saying, what you're saying is that Black people aren't capable, they're not capable of just looking at the evidence and coming up with a legitimate verdict.
Oh, I think that they are, unless there's this racial dynamic, there's racial tension involved.
Okay,
I mean, look at the OJ verdict. I remember that was the biggest case I ever saw when I was a kid. Now, I thought he was innocent, and so did my granny. I mean, I was little, but we were the white family that were rooting for OJ. But I'm saying that now everybody agrees he was guilty, and they still delivered that verdict, right?
I disagree with you. I
disagree too.
I disagree with you because
really?
I mean, Black people are just as competent as anyone else. Because
it's not about competence; it's about the emotional stuff tied into it.
I could say the same thing about white people, Latino people, or Asian people. I could say, you know what? Being that it's an Asian defendant and the victim is white, so guess what? We don't need any Asians on the jury. Because
that might even be true with Asians.
They're going to let this guy off because he's Asian and they're Asian. I mean,
the studies I saw dealt with white people and Black people, but it also dealt with Europeans. But it did also show that of all the groups, this is the irony, but this is also bared out by observable reality everywhere we look, that white people are most likely to have an out-group preference instead of an in-group preference.
Wow.
Which might explain why we can be badgered into letting, like, oh yeah, you have to take in immigrants. You're evil if you don't want to. Like, you don't see that with any other country, right?
Well, let me ask you one more question, then I'm gonna let my brother Perfect Black go.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that even if the defendant is Black, right? If the defendant is Black and the victim is white, that he's more likely to get a better outcome if the jury is all white? Is
Not
that what
all
you're saying?
white. I don't know. It's not all
Just no
white.
black
No, I
people.
just said
Just no black
I'm just
people on the
basing it
jury.
on the data. I'm not saying that it means that we can't actually take this and put it into any type of usage. It would be unconstitutional. It'd be wrong. I'm not saying, but I'm saying I understand why some attorneys would be hesitant in cases where there's a racial dynamic because of studies. If they're, which they do look at studies like that. You can't make people like. There's no way to divorce what people can see, you know, from data and just from observable reality and tell them ignore that. That's not fair. Because that, like, if I'm known as like the town slut, I got that reputation honestly 9 times out of 10, right?
Mhm.
It's probably my fault that people think that way. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't understand. Like, and that's like a hard thing I had to realize about reality in general, about, you know, just life in general, that things aren't always fair, but, you know, it doesn't seem fair, but at the same time, like, how are you going to divorce? Like, not everybody is the same on every level. Like, different people groups are different. I would expect, yeah, probably Asians and Jewish people would have a pretty hard time divorcing their ethnic group from the verdict as well. Like, on average, I'm not saying that it's impossible or that we should do anything with it, but I'm saying that if you know, based on studies that they've done, I don't see
Well,
why.
you accuse black folks of being the most biased. That's what you just did, right? You said black people are the most biased when it comes to
All I
sitting
said
on a
was
jury.
that's what well, it's not just with the jury,
Okay.
it's also just in general with their in terms of like where their racial identity is most central to their identity. Studies that have shown that that's consistent too. Now, this is on average. This doesn't even apply to the most fair and unbiased person in the world. It could be a black person. We're just talking about averages, and when you're dealing with a jury pool, you're also dealing with averages. So
Okay.
I'm just saying that might be behind it. You can't do anything about it though. It's not actionable information because it would be wrong to
Okay.
actually use that information to select juries. So I'm not saying that they should do it. I phrased it wrong because what I was saying is I understand why that would happen, you know, potentially in interracial cases, not in just any case, but.
Okay. May I?
You got it.
Okay.
Perfect black.
You mentioned um, um, studies. Can you kindly post those studies to back up your assertions? I'm not going to go into what you were saying about the observable reality. I can't.
I could get you. I could get back to you with it.
Let me finish.
Oh, sorry.
I can't. Um, and I don't mean disrespect when I say this. I can't really address the absurdity of what you said, the observable reality, because I have no clue of what reality that you are observing. But I am curious to know what studies you are so strongly uh, um, um, advancing here that are, you know, that's backing you up. So please kindly post your studies, because if you can't post them, then you really shouldn't say what you're saying, because now it's just it amounts to what they say, I'm white and I say so, and that's just not going to
Well,
fly in these
there we
circles.
go. That's I'm white and I say so. See, I think if
Then
I were to say things like that, that
ma'am,
would
post your,
probably count as a
then
racist
post your.
comment in your mind. This
Okay,
is
that's
what I
fine.
mean.
I'm okay. I'm
I
okay
don't
with.
care,
Then
but it's just
post your.
like the lack of self awareness is truly awe inspiring at
Okay,
times.
then go ahead and post your study, because you're using these studies. You keep saying it, but
I
you
didn't
won't
plan to
post it.
jump
Hold
on
So
on,
the
hold on, hold
panel.
on. Let him
Okay,
lay it out. Let
I'll
him
have
lay it
to
out.
get
Hold on.
back to you with it.
Hold on. Let him lay it out. Let him lay it out. Hold on. Go ahead,
right,
brother Perfect Black.
because you're saying these words fascinating, you know, statistics and numbers and all of that. Brother X, he posted his numbers. He posted them so all to see.
I was in the
So,
chat. I did not do a live,
but
you know,
you
live
said
stream on my
did you
channel. This was in a
not
chat
say,
room.
did you not say in the chat you said studies?
Yes, I did.
So
Yes.
then you should have posted those studies.
First of
And
all, you can't post links in the chat unless you're a moderator.
okay, then you should be able to at least speak to the name of the studies, who did the studies, so we can go and do
Oh
our
my gosh.
research.
If you want to do a whole show on this in like a week where I can have all that prepared, I have 5 kids. So like I was just making a comment in the
Then
chat. I did not have all that ready.
man,
We're operating on just a phone too, by the way. I don't
okay.
have like a these things are difficult.
It is because in these spaces here, we do work on facts and statistics. So when people say that type of stuff, our antennas go up. Okay, well, where is that stuff at? Otherwise, that is a height of irresponsibility and malpractice and intellectual malpractice.
I was just trying to do the courtesy of coming on because he asked me to. I wasn't like
no, brother. That is the height of intellectual irresponsibility to back yourself up with studies that you were not prepared to show the whole world in what you were talking about.
Are you okay?
I'd have to agree with him on that because, I mean, you said you did cite studies. You did do that. You said studies. You said studies say that Black folks are the most biased when it comes to interracial dynamics in trials. You said that. You did say that.
Yes, I'm not saying that I can't provide this. I can't. I literally can't physically do it right now because I'm on the.
Okay. Well, come back. Come back. Hold on.
Yes.
Come back when you have that literature, and we can post it. We can talk about it.
Because
this
otherwise,
was like 2 years ago that I came across this information.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All you got to do.
I didn't really think anybody would argue that either, because honestly, I can't imagine that people would.
In these spaces, we do.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, I understand the debating it, but I would think that there's a lot of, I don't know. I mean, not about the juror bias, but in terms of seeing your ethnic identity as central to your identity. I mean, I've heard so many conversations in these spaces where Black men are complaining actually about the expectation of that they have to see their Blackness as central to their identity. I don't know literally any other,
but that doesn't necessarily,
any white people that see whiteness as central.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to if you're sitting on a jury or not. I don't believe that. I don't believe that correlates because, Black people have a tendency to, because I talk about, how we're really race loyal at times when we don't really need to be, but I don't think that correlates into.
I would hope not, but I don't have much faith in jurors.
I don't think that correlates into when you're all sitting in a jury room and you have documents of evidence in front of you that you're automatically gonna, turn a blind eye to evidence because the defendant just happens to be Black. I mean, I would have to see some proof.
What would you say about the OJ trial? Because you guys both said you disagree with me on that.
Can I take this from Brother X? Now, the OJ trial, I followed that whole trial, that entire trial. And one of the biggest things that really got OJ off was, believe it or not, was that blood preservative in those socks. That they could not explain that. And those officers, the chain of custody was completely just messed completely up when they take evidence home. But yet, and then some evidence that they advanced that was supposed to be against OJ wind up being, wait a minute, EDTA, that's a blood preservative. How does that get into the socks?
Right.
That could
yeah, I was really young when it has been. So I think there was tampering.
When you bring up OJ, no, that was not a case of jury nullification. No, the jurors, the prosecution just didn't prove their case.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
I was young. I just thought everybody looked at him like he's guilty. Even Black people say it's guilt. So I wasn't sure if that was something where everybody thought so then.
They did not prove their case. They didn't prove their case. Johnny Cochran kicked their ass. That's bottom line.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, my granny went to her deathbed believing OJ was innocent.
When he exposed police officers committing perjury.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, was that Mark Furman that did that?
Yeah, they didn't prove their case. They just did not prove their case.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean,
but when we go, but back to this, see, for me, and I did not mean any insult when I said I'm white and I say so, but the reason why I said that, because the Black community, we have to do some healing in that every time white folks say something, and when they throw statistics and studies, when they just throw those words around, Black folks, we tend to believe it. That's why they had that term, I'm white and I say so.
When
you come in and you say The studies show. Well, black folks like myself would say in these spaces would say, okay, wait a minute. Please advance your studies. Because if you don't advance them, or if you can't advance them, that it amounts to just that. I'm white and I say so.
Yeah. If you cite an
Well,
article
what I can
or
do,
cite
I can
study,
email them to you.
we want to see it. Yeah, we want to
Right.
see it.
We want to
Because
see
you
it.
can't,
Or
you
else we're
can't
not gonna
post
believe it.
links in chat.
Yeah,
So
well,
I
you
don't
can-
even bother half the time
Well,
to cite anything I say in
speak
chat.
to it.
because
You
I
can
can't.
say that 2010 CDC study said this, and we can do
All
our
right.
we can do our own research after that.
Yeah, you can send them
Right.
to me. You have my email.
Yeah,
so
I'll email. Yes, I'll.
just
I
send
don't
them
know
to
if
me.
you want to
can
do
send them
another
to me.
show on the
Brother.
issue. That might be an interesting show topic, anyways. The topic of in-group preference versus out-group preference, because that, I think
I would guarantee you. I would posit. Well, I don't want to say I guarantee, but I would bet. And I'm not a betting man, but I would bet that whatever studies that you are talking about, these were studies that was done by government. And I can almost guarantee that the people who finance these studies got their own bias against black folks.
Well, but see how that's an issue of bias right there, because you have a bias, right? See, that's the thing. I almost think we have to just abandon the very notion that you shouldn't expect bias.
You would have to prove me wrong on that because, ma'am,
I'm
you would
not-
have to prove me wrong on that because you're the one who said studies. So
No,
you
but I'm
would be the
saying
one that have
about
to prove me wrong on
you're
that.
assuming bias on the part of those who conducted the study.
Well, being part
And
of
that's probably because you're assuming they're white too, right?
Well, being a part of a demographic that have been roundly abused in these ways here, so you would have to forgive me if I have a little sensitivity to that. So yes, I'm going to want you to bring and to advance the studies from which you are making your assertions. Otherwise,
how old are you?
I'm
Perfect
46.
blackness.
I'm 46 years old.
Okay. All right. That I guess makes it a little different. I'm just wondering, like, I wonder in the world now, like, how people can look at the media and everything that's happening and not see that things have not only have they changed, it almost seems like they've flipped in the opposite direction, to where you might be very logical to assume a study conducted 40, 50 years ago was maybe a biased study, but today, especially in the halls of like academia, the bias is almost entirely in the opposite direction. The media can post, can actually like publish articles like whiteness is an epidemic or a pandemic and it needs to be eradicated. Like they can say the most hateful, like blood libel against one group, and not have any heat or any smoke, and we don't even say anything. Waukesha happened. I mean, we're not going to riot over that. We're not even allowed to. But part of that's because the establishment that will be, if white people rioted over about Waukesha and said it was like a terrorist, a racial terrorist attack, we would probably be rounded up like the January 6th rioters. Okay. You know what I mean?
Okay. For black women, you may have an argument there. For black men, no, you are absolutely totally wrong.
They do try to say, black men are the new white men or something.
No, ma'am.
That's what they.
No.
That's what I'm saying. That I've seen them make those arguments that they're, the woke side.
I have to disagree with you that when it comes to black men, it's damn near open season, both in the media and in law enforcement.
They won't even report the race of the suspect in a shooting. Have you ever watched Act Nation News? He's a black guy.
When you say they won't report race in the
they won't. If it's a black guy, if it's a white guy, they will. Literally now, it's new. It's new.
Where do you live? I live in Chicago, man. I don't know the reality in which you are talking about.
It's all over the country.
I mean, at first, in the beginning, about, man. See, this is the reason why they say there are two Americas, black and white. The reality in which you are speaking of, I have never seen. In my 46 years of living, I've never seen this.
Act Nation News, he plays news clips from all around the country, and it's incredible. They'll have suspects on the loose that are like dangerous, that are like on a carjacking spree, for instance, right? And they won't.
I'm sorry. I don't know where you live, but here in Chicago,
nobody else is.
I'm sorry. Here in Chicago, they're gonna put the demographics of every assailant as much information about that
They're
as
trying
they
to
can.
get rid of the gangs database because they say it's racist that there's too many black people on it. Like they got rid of it. They got rid of the gangs database
Well,
because
tonight,
they said it was
well,
racist against
hold on,
black
hold on,
men.
hold on, hold on, hold on,
Who's
hold
doing
on.
this? I don't like
Well,
to know
tonight we're talking about the wrongly accused. We're not talking about
Right.
gangs. We're not talking about people who ride in Waukesha. We're talking about the wrongfully arrested,
Right.
charged, accused, convicted. That's what
Well,
we're talking
he
about
seemed
tonight.
to bring up the argument of just how this is the worst justice system in the world.
And I see my brother Info Man in the chat, and he want the link, so he gonna get it.
I'm gonna let you guys go.
Okay, thanks
I
for
wanted
coming
to
up.
speak to that.
Email me that information. Email me that
Yeah,
information.
I'm gonna have to go back. I have to, when you
Yes,
go
please
come
do.
across things years
do.
later, you have to go back and
Please do.
figure out where you found them.
Please do.
I do
I
have
will.
to say,
I got your email now.
I do have to say, ma'am, and I'm going to continue to clarify when I say this. If you are a non-black male, this is the best system for you. But if you're a black male, no, you might as well be in a third world country if you're a black male because the ways that they are doing it. So if you're a white person, if you're an immigrant, Hispanic, yeah, it could be the best thing for you, but not for black men. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I would love to see you talk to Akatunde at Ak Nation because he's been through the criminal justice system too, and he has a whole different take on it. But maybe you should check out his channel sometime and come on and debate him because he's a genius. He's literally like maybe the smartest guy I've ever encountered.
And I would encourage you to stay up until Info Man get on. I would encourage you to stay up to
yeah, because do you realize that many of the people who have been falsely accused or falsely charged and convicted, these brothers, it's usually because the victim is white. So you say that black people are more biased when they're sitting in the jury box, but I think the system itself is more biased towards black people when there is a white victim and a black defendant, and I just had to stat up the show. So,
right. I came in a bit late to the show. I'll have to look at what you're saying in terms of like data and stuff in terms of wrongful convictions because
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better.
Okay, if you want it. Okay.
I'll do you one.
Sorry,
better.
my little girl is up and she's not willing to go.
I'll do you one. There it is.
There it is.
There it is, right on the screen.
That's why I said earlier that he put the stats up, put the pie charts, all that right there. So
let's see.
And we're talking about murder, sexual assault, and drug cases. Not just murder, not just sexual assault, not just drug cases. We're talking murder.
To see them.
All three of them. Let me see if I can blow it up a little more.
I would have to. I mean, I'm having. It's not you. It's that I'm on my phone. I mean, I would have to. I have to look.
I can't make it any bigger than that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm hobbled when it comes to any of this stuff because I'm always like, okay, murder. Now,
okay.
I've seen a lot of data like this that also says, obviously that black men are shot by the police at a higher rate than anybody else. And then you look into it and you find that wasn't true at all. And that's actually, and that they kind of, they skewed all of everything. They took out like interactions with police and everything like that to make it look like, this is inexplicable. This must be racism. So I have to, I don't know if you can email this to me so I can see it. I might be able to open it.
Absolutely I can.
Yeah.
Absolutely I can.
I think the FBI crime statistics would disagree with you on that statement, ma'am.
Absolutely.
What about the FBI?
Send you the link right now. And you can
in terms of police
yourself.
shootings, police interactions and versus because actually a black economist actually did this.
You do know the FBI, they actually count all of this stuff. They just don't.
Right. Yeah, I know. I've been to the crime table.
I sent you this chart so you can go ahead and go over it. Okay. And read it and compare it to what you have. And maybe you can come back with your stats. Like I said, email them to me. You have my email.
If I go away from StreamYard, it'll close out.
Whatever you want to do. Brother Info, check your email,
I'll let
brother.
you guys go because you've got you've got somebody else coming on, and I've got to get my 3-year-old. She's chasing me around now, so I've got to
Okay.
get her back into the bed. But I'll look into this once if I open it right now, I'll exit out of StreamYards because I
Okay.
opened the StreamYards link from my email. So right now, if I check my email, it will close
Okay.
me out. But I appreciate. Yeah, I really wasn't. I'm not advocating for like not allowing different races of people on juries because my point was I understood what mentality was going into it. If the data that I'd seen repeatedly was something that they felt was accurate, I don't know. I mean, I'll look into this though because I don't know when it comes to the bias in how men are charged in terms of if black men are charged or wrong or wrongly accused more often when there's a white victim. It's going to be
They are.
interesting to look into that.
They
Yeah.
are. They are.
Yeah.
They
But
are.
then we did see, like in the case of Julius Jones recently, I don't think anybody disagrees that he's innocent, or I think everybody pretty much agrees he's guilty, but he just got granted clemency after murdering a white man, right? And so I'm saying it would appear at the very least things are shifting in the opposite direction. I can't really explain Julius Jones if the system is just out to get black men, because there was a lot of people angry about that because he murdered a father in front of his children in his own garage, and so like it's kind of hard to uphold a narrative based on anecdotes in one direction or the other. It's like we can really only go off data, but I'll look into this, guys, and I'll email you back at this email, Xavier.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
Have
you
a good
coming
night.
up. Well, we've been joined by my brother, the one and only Info Man. What's good with it, brother Info?
I'm doing fine, brother. I'm here to dispel some of the bullshit that was being spoken because the young lady that you had up here doesn't know what she's talking about. I've got damn near 22 years working within the prison environment. I have dealt with every kind of criminal you can think of: white supremacists, gangs, Mexican mafia, serial killers. I've even dealt with guys that were in medical facilities or psych facilities that come from San Quentin that are on death row. So every form of criminal and gang member that you can think of, I have dealt with them, talked to them personally, counseled them, understand how the prison system works. And I live in a state that has the largest prison system in this country, and that's California. We incarcerate more people than anybody, and we're the biggest state in this goddamn union. So let me just break a few things down. When black men kill black people, or black men in this case, historically and currently, they have a higher chance of getting off. There are various periodicals that you can look up about this. There's the justified comparison to white on white killing, which was baseline. There's all types of studies that you can look up that breaks down how often black men are convicted when they harm white people. And we already know, brother, that there are more black men historically that have been given the death penalty when they have committed crimes in this society, particularly on white society and crime across the board. Black men tend to get the death penalty 10 times more than white males. Matter of fact, one of the first young child to be taken out by death penalty was a black child.
George Stinney.
That's right. Tell me, can anybody tell me, can you name the white young kid, boy, that's been that's been executed under the law in this country. You can't give me one because there haven't been one. Matter of fact, let's not talk about the executions that white men have perpetrated on black men due to a white woman lying and saying that that black man raped her. Historically, that's why you got Rosewood, you had Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then of course we had what happened to Emmett Till because of a lie, where you had white men that took justice into their own hands and killed and mutilated black bodies, went to court and got off for it. Now let me break something down here to get through the bullshit here. You've got FBI statistics. Let's use their own data against them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The earliest FBI statistics currently right now, gentlemen, is from 2019. That's the current statistics. And even if they come out with 2020 from the FBI, they will still remain current. Now, total crime. Now, we know that black people, they say we're 13-14% of the population, although we know that white people are dipping in their population. Census came out about that just this year because they're not reproducing themselves enough. They've got some biological issues going on, but that's a whole nother story. When you look at total crime in America, because they always make the total crime the face of black people, total crime in America is committed at 69.4% by white people. Mm-hmm. Black people are at 26.6%. That's African-American males or African-American people in total. Native Americans at 2.4, Asians at 1.3, Native Hawaiians at 0.3. So overall, total crime in America is mainly committed overall by white folks. Let's go into murder and manslaughter. White people are at 45.8%. They've got black people at 51.2%. We are high there. We do have a homicide problem with harming ourselves. And we know that every ethnic group harms themselves when they live in proximity to each other. Wow. White folks harm each other. When they kill each other, they harm each other. Remember the Waco, Texas, where you had that white biker gang out there? They were shooting each other like the old OK Corral, and nobody called it white on white crime, but it was white on white crime. Just like Kyle Rittenhouse going out there in Kenosha was white on white crime because he killed 3 white people. But they don't call it that because he's a good old boy. Now, when it comes to rape, black men are not predators. Okay, 69.8% of rape is committed by white people, 26.7% by black people. When black men are given charges, they are chumped up because normally they have a jury that is not made up of their peers. And normally, if you commit a crime in a more conservative community versus a more liberal community, this is just real, you're going to get the book thrown at you, especially if you are a black male. The reason why I know this, and this is why the young lady doesn't know what she's talking about, she can't bring me anything because I see it in my own data at work. Most of the guys that I look at when I look at their C files, if you know what a C file is, that's a criminal record file that most prisons will have. Most of the C files are now computerized now. I'm able to look at the crime that's being engaged where I live by blacks, whites, and other groups. Do you know that they would have you think that black people are the only ones toting guns and shooting up everybody, killed? The majority of the people that I see that are getting heavy time are white men, and their crimes are what? Rape, killing, domestic violence against their children, their wife, shooting somebody. A lot of black men in prison in this country are in prison because of narcotics. They were selling or using, and they violated their parole, and they absconded, and they had to be sent right back to prison because they had a drug possession. I can't tell you how many brothers that I've seen over the years, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds who most of their charges was a drug possession or to conceal drugs or some type of petty theft. And then, of course, you will get the gang members that might have killed someone, that too. But a lot of the white men that I see who come through the system, they're the ones that have pretty heavy weapons charges and harm against their own family. Motor vehicle theft. People think that black people are leading that. No, we don't. 67.6% of motor vehicle theft is done by white folks, 28.6% by black people. Okay. Violent crime. They would have you think that we're the violent animals, the violent people, the animals that they define us. Violent crime is 59.1% committed by white people, 36.4% black men. What I'm trying to say here is that black men are going to prison at higher rates because we're getting poor representation as far as legal advice, legal counseling. And when we go to court, the judges, the jury, the whole system is stacked against us. So even though white people are committing more amount of crime than us, we're usually the ones who are the ones getting arrested, getting the higher sentences, because on 10 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news, they paint black men as the face of crime, when in reality, white people are actually the ones that lead in overall crime in this country. Property crime, 66.8% is committed by white people, 29.8% black people. This one, remember I said the one about sexual crimes and aggravated assault, 61% committed by 0.8% committed by white people, 33.2% by black people. Burglary, higher for them. Larceny and what's this one? Motor vehicle theft, 67%, as I said. But this is the one that I want definitely want to put out there. Sexual offenses. Oh yeah, because I deal with it. The majority of the guys that I see that come through the system who engage in the sexual perverted crimes tend to be white society. I'll tell you why. It ain't me saying this. It's your own data, folks. Your own data. Because when it comes to sexual rape and prostitution and those type of crimes, white people lead at 74.6%, black people at 20.6%. All of it is bad. None of us should be leading in any of these things, but I'm just saying, I'm just giving it to you. Drug abuse. They would tell you that black people are the biggest abusers of drugs. No, white people lead in that at 71.2%, black people at 26.1%. Offenses against the family and children. As I said before, a lot of these guys have done horrible things against their family. I can't tell you the case notes that I've read, the horrible things that people have done. All of it is horrible, but offenses against the family, guess what? White America leads in that at 65.8%, 28.3% when it comes to black society. A terrible thing. Driving under the influence of a drug. Woo! White people lead in that at 81.5%. Black people only lead in that at 14.1%. This is not me making this up. This is y'all statistics, because white people are the ones that control and operate and manifest the FBI. So this is your own statistics on your own people, and y'all lead in most of these violations. Prostitution, 50.9%, blacks at 42%. So they tell you there's no white pimps. There's plenty of white pimps out there. They just don't get brought up. Now we got fraud. Oh, white people commit fraud at 65.9%, black people at 30.5%. Then I'll finish up. Counterfeiting. Oh, white people come in at a whopping 67.1%, black people at 30.1%. So I could go on and on and on, gentlemen. Robbery. All right, black people are a little bit higher in robbery, but however, white people are leading at 44. White people were at 44.7%, and black people were at 52.7%. So we lead in slightly in a few areas. But aggravated assault, 61.8% white people engage in that. These are just a few areas. I'm not going to go over all of it. Oh, when it comes to crimes of suspicion, oh, white people lead at 76.6%. 19.5%. Suspicion mean guys doing weird stuff, lurking in the dark, creepy stuff, peeping Tom type stuff, bullshit like that. Oh, they say that black youth and black people, we have no respect for the law, that we're not law-abiding citizens. Well, when it comes to curfew and littering laws and violations outside in terms of curfew and all that, not following the law, oh, white people lead at 65.8%. Black people are at 29.9%. Liquor laws, oh my God. Now, they would make you think that black folks are the biggest drunks, that we're the biggest loafers out there on the streets. Oh, hell no. White people have violated liquor laws at 77.7%, while black people are at 15.5%. So I'm going to stop it right there. Those are their statistics that show that makes up that 69.4% of total crime being committed by white society, not black society. But we make up the most arrested in this society than they do. No, like I said, because we get less representation, we get poor representation, and we have a legal system that has deemed us the criminals, and the jury that we don't get of our own peers. And what happened in the Ahmaud Arbery was a lucky one for us, because they had 11 jurors that were made up of 9 women, 1 black person, the rest were white men. We usually go before a court with white people that have been conditioned by 10 o'clock news that we are animals, that we are the criminals of this society, when in fact, we are not the criminals of this society overall. Yes, we have some problems that we're going to have to clean up in our own community. But to set up here, as that young lady said, to set up here and come with that super right-wing bullshit from some damn website that we haven't even heard of, some bullshit, and say that, well, I got to go back and look at the statistics because, I don't think that's right I think white men are the ones no, white men are committing the most crime, but they don't get arrested or charged heavily as we do. And when they commit crimes, they commit some of the most sinners crime. Oh, didn't I say that most? Now, this is when I'm going to end on this. Now, when it comes to terrorism and domestic terrorism, white males, I don't know what's wrong with white males, they lead in the domestic terrorism, blowing shit up and all that kind of stuff. Oh, serial killers. Yeah, there's been a couple of serial killers that were black, but the majority of your intimate serial killers, because I dealt with them, I've dealt with these kind of guys. Some of your biggest serial killers have the profile of the white male because they are the white male, not the black male. So I rest on that for now, and thank you for allowing me to talk. I know I'm long-winded, brother, prophet of thought, but I had to say what I had to say.
You work in the prison system, so
up here.
You work in the prison system, so I know what it is. I mean, but I need to address this right here. Because infantry skills, man, I got a lot of respect for some of the shit you say, man, but you're being fucking dishonest right now. And you're being fucking disingenuous too. Because you sitting up here talking about, oh, they finally had the opportunity to show all the cases where black men were exonerated after a white woman lied, but they didn't mention that to her. Number one, I brought up the stats and the charts at the beginning of this fucking show. Number one. Number two, I told her, all right, that none of that shit that she's saying correlates into criminal justice. Number three, I told her, look, I said, if you're going to get up here and say that black people are biased because they sit in the jury seat,
you show the stats.
You need to show the stats of that. So
and
I don't know.
Challenge her on that.
Yeah, yes. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, infantry skills. I really don't.
I know. I challenged her on that. I said,
I don't know what the fuck you talking about.
I said, first of all, if you're going to say that, you need to show us the stats that you keep mentioning.
Yeah,
and she couldn't do it. And I said, then it just amounts to, well, why not say so?
Right, and this is the thing.
You need to rewind this motherfucking tape back.
When somebody brings up something, and then you ask them to tell you where they get their stats, their information, their data. And then they tell you, and then as soon as they tell you, gentlemen, you have to do your research. That's bullshit. When they bring up a statement, they now have the burden to prove to you what they're saying is true. You don't have the burden. They have
Exactly.
the burden because they brought it to your attention. Let me also say this too, and I know it's anecdotal evidence, but in my years of working in the environment that I have worked in, I have to be
Okay,
honest.
infantry skill, your ass blocked. How about that?
I have
See
seen
you later,
people.
man.
I have seen the C files of brothers,
See
and
you
I can
later,
tell you right
motherfucker.
now that some of the brothers that I have worked with, they are filing their appeals because when you look at their case, you can tell that their charges were chumped up. I'm not talking about what I read in a book, in a magazine, gentlemen, or off of some website.
Wow.
I'm talking about criminal files that I'm seeing where these guys are appealing their case in the law libraries in the prison, and they're getting off, or they're getting decreases in their sentence because it was found that things were chumped up in their case.
Wow.
And guess who it happens to more than anybody? Black males in the environment.
Yeah, you know, infantry skills, man. He must have just got here because
infantry
she-
skills is full of crap because
I challenged that woman. I challenged her
sitting up
good.
here. He's sitting up here talking about, oh, y'all should have told her about towns being burnt down. Motherfucker, we don't gotta talk about what you want us to talk about, motherfucker. You want somebody to talk about it? Talk about it on your fucking channel. You see, that shit really gets under my skin when a motherfucker start trying to tell me what I should talk about. Motherfucker, don't tell me what to talk about on my shit. Don't tell me how to respond to something. Motherfucker, if you want that shit to be said, go on your shit and say it. How about that? Infantry skills. Motherfucker.
No, she got challenged because she was saying some greasy stuff in the chat about, you know, studies show, and I challenged her directly on that. You know,
Right.
she could not. I said, well, if that's the case, what studies are you referring to, and please post them. She couldn't do it. And I said,
Right.
then it amounts to I'm white, and I say so.
But check this out. I can go online right now, which I've done on many shows that I've done on my channel, where I have shown that it is proven, because they have the data that you can look up just like that, that shows that black men are more likely to be shot by police unarmed 3 times as much more. Y'all know this, brothers, than white males. Yep. So this whole notion that that black people are making up myths and things of this nature is just not true. We are more likely to be shot by the law enforcement when we are unarmed, when we have no gun, no nothing. Matter of fact, when they had the stop and fricks program in New York,
oh yeah,
they found that the majority of the people that had the drugs and gun on them were white males. They were not black males, but black males were the main ones being harassed by the police so much that the ACL, all those other groups, regulatory groups, had to step in and put pressure on the city of New York to abolish the stop and frisk law, because it was found to be unlawful and it was too often being used on black males. So you tell me that if there's not, you can't tell me that there's not bias in the courtroom when there's bias on the streets.
Right.
In law enforcement. Come on now. They're all the DAs, the lawyers, they're all working in unison when it comes to prosecuting black males. Especially if you get a damn what do you call that? The appointed lawyer who's packed with cases up to yin yang. You're not going to get the same justice. White men are given the benefit of the doubt even when they've done horrible crimes, because white men in this society have not been looked at historically as the predators, the super predators that Bill Clinton's wife Hillary Clinton called us.
Exactly. I mean, because me, like I said, this stuff that her stats and all of that, she couldn't post anything, and I want to make sure that she couldn't post anything because she didn't have it. Then she might as well keep it to herself. So I don't know what infantry skills is talking about.
Yeah.
She got challenged, thoroughly challenged.
And Brother Coffee, this is the thing, Brother Coffee. You say, well, I think he was saying she kept talking so much where she kept getting off the subject and the point got lost. She got up there often and derailed the conversation, but that's not what this motherfucker said, Brother Coffee. what he said was that white chick was on here spreading false propaganda, and not one of you guys mentioned anything about the towns being burnt down behind a white woman's lie. Now, what the fuck does that have to fucking do with black folks being on a jury, or black folks being falsely arrested and convicted? What the fuck does that? Oh, we should have said what he wanted us to say. We should have
That
talked.
wasn't even a conversation.
Yeah,
right there.
we should have talked about buildings being burnt down according to fucking infantry skills, right? Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you, motherfucker. I will talk about what the fuck I want to talk about on here. You don't like it, turn the goddamn channel. How about that? You will find out the hard way that motherfuckers don't dictate what I talk about up here, Negro. Get it right, motherfucker.
She couldn't defend any of her assertions.
Get out of here, man.
Right. She couldn't defend any of her assertions. I'm not going to get up here and yell and call her a bitch and all that. I'm not going to do all that.
That's what they
I'm going to challenge her logically.
For some reason,
what she was saying.
For some reason, whenever a female comes up here, or whenever a white person comes up here, or whenever a Latino person comes up on your fucking channel, these motherfuckers just want you to, boy, they just want you to land base them. Boy, they want you to stab them. They want you to do all this bullshit. Fine, if that's what you want, you know what you do. Get them on your channel and do it. Get them on your channel and do it. I don't have to do all of that, man, because the facts speak for themselves. And you know what else I did? I pulled that same motherfucking graph up. You know, the one that I pulled up at the beginning of the stream. So
you let your facts speak for themselves. You
exactly.
That's why I just said, hey, let me get up here, dispel a few things with facts, which I did. Yeah. And that's all it needs to speaks for itself. But
that's all you need. Right?
Yeah, but I will jump on you motherfuckers in the chat room if you're talking crazy. All right? You motherfuckers, I'll jump on, god damn it. If you're up here talking disingenuous and saying stupid shit.
Right. Keep in mind, always when people bring up issues like this and they start naming websites you ain't never heard of, something that sounds obscure. And if they can tell you about all these websites where they find this information, then that means that they should have read what's on that website. So why can't they quote it and then tell you exactly where to find the damn website?
Exactly.
If you're going to
but you didn't turn around and say, when I come back next time. No, if you know all this stuff, you should need a next time.
You should be able to speak to it. And that was what I was challenging her on right there. She could say, she could post nothing. She could speak to none of these studies that she was talking about. She just kept saying studies and statistics, but she couldn't post anything. She couldn't speak to it. And that's what I was challenging her on. I don't know what he wanted me to do in that regard.
Right.
But I think I challenged her pretty good. She couldn't bring anything. So far as I'm concerned, it's just I'm white and I say so. I said
I just posted the crime statistics in the chat.
So yeah, y'all can go ahead and look it up for yourself.
People want to go more deeply into those.
I seen that. I seen that FBI stat.
And you know it's fucking true.
Yeah. See, and that's what I was telling her. Where in this space here, in these black spaces here, we back up our assertions, or we just say it's our opinion. Now I don't know what infantry skills wanted, but I think we did a pretty good job of challenging her what she was talking about, and she really couldn't back it up.
No, you had to start talking about burning buildings and shit like that, to satisfy, motherfuckers like infantry skill, certain shit. They want you to say certain things, if you don't say what they want you to say, that's it. But I gotta step outside for a minute, man. My dog's going crazy. Something's going on in the yard. Hold it on. Could y'all hold it down for a couple minutes for me?
T.P.O.T, brother. I gotta step off the panel in a minute. I was a little busy today running around, and I just got back in a few minutes ago, but I heard what was going on. I just wanted to come up and kind of lay some of that out. And
I wish that she was up here because I did say, because I told her before she left, I said, if Info Man come up, I really would want you to stay up.
Yeah,
because I knew you was going to come with with the actual raw data numbers, and I wanted her to hear that. I wanted her to be up and I wanted her to respond to it. That's what I want.
I didn't say what I the things that I said, and you know the numbers too, brother. It wasn't so much me trying to say, well, this group is better than this group. I basically was trying to say, look, this is your own numbers.
Exactly.
This is what the numbers say, and this is why black males in particular, black society, we're not the overall face of crime. Now, do we have some problems in certain areas that we got to clean up? Yes, we do. But we're not the total face in crime. Because what happens, brother, and you know this, is that people often say, okay, black folks, what are you going to do about the problems that you're engaging in? Well, look like white people are engaging in a lot of shit too. So what are you going to do to clean up some of your problems? You got heavy rape going on in your community. You got domestic violence at a all-time high, assault, burglary, all sorts of stuff. So if you're going to tell us to clean up our act, recognize that you've got problems too, and the numbers play itself out. But the criminal injustice system has never worked for black people in totality. We've got little pockets of victories like the Ahmaud Arbery. That's one. But can you count? How many can you count on your finger or off your finger of victories we've had legally when you look at the thousands of black people and hundreds of black people that were mistreated in this legal system? Okay. Like, for example, Kyle Rittenhouse was able to stand on a defense, right? But nobody.
I actually thought that case was going to be I thought that was going to be a mistrial.
Right.
I honestly thought that was going to be a mistrial and it wound up being an acquittal.
But really what bothers me about it is that, look, he got off on a defense. Did he have any business being in there with his gun underage, even though the laws in Wisconsin say that you have to have a parental guidance? Even though it's come out in the wash now that he actually asked his friend to purchase the weapon.
So now we're talking about a straw purchase, right?
Right. Even though, straw purchase. Even though the judge would not allow there to be evidence to be brought into this case, such as the fact that he did pull the gun on 2 black young men that night. Nobody talks about that, right? But however, look at Trayvon Martin. He goes to get snacks from a store, going back home to look at the All-Star basketball game. A strange adult is following him. That adult is told not to deal with him, let the law step in. That adult went towards a minor teenage kid who was defending himself because he saw a creepy dude following him. So he got the best of George Zimmerman by whipping his ass with his knuckles. George Zimmerman pulls out a gun, kills the young boy, teenager. He gets stand your own ground, and Trayvon Martin, nobody said, wait a minute, could Trayvon Martin be defending himself against this creepy guy? Nobody said that. But Kyle Rittenhouse defended himself, and everybody's saying, go ahead, Kyle. Well, wait a minute. See, the reason why black people were looking at that case is everybody keeps saying, well, why y'all worried about it? Because he killed 3 black people. Because a lot of us wanted to see what the white boy get justice for doing what a black kid could probably not get away with and will not get away with historically.
You see, and that was one thing I was trying to point out to her as well, is that no other demographic but black men, in particular black men, no other demographic can point to such a disparity in justice on such a consistent basis, as black men.
Yes.
And people always say, well, this is the best system in the world. Yeah, if you're not a black male, yeah, it is the best system for you. It makes sense for you to be stepping over your mother to get here, because the system is going to work for you. More or less, it's going to work for you. But if you're a black man, the system is not going to work for you. It's not. We got a whole bunch of black men that are in prison right now in their 60s and all that for crimes that they didn't commit. And you got a whole body of a whole legal system at every level keeping them there, being convicted. They're innocent, and they still don't want to let the man out. No other demographic can point to that type of disparity in justice on such a long, protracted period of time as black men. So for black men, this is not the best system in the world. I would dare say it's probably one of the worst. They probably ain't no better than Afghanistan or Venezuela some goddamn where. We are that vulnerable to where we can be murdered and shot dead by white vigilantes and they get away with it. No other demographic can point to that type of reality. And that reality be normal. And then we have the temerity to turn around and say, well, this is the best system in the world. That's an insult. For black men to hear that, to be told that on such a regular basis, that is an insult. When we can be driving along, doing nothing wrong, and be murdered by cops on video and get away with it. On video for the whole world to see and get away with it. You don't see Hispanics getting done like this. You don't see white men getting done this being treated in this fashion. You don't see no other demographic being done in this fashion but black men.
Right. For example, remember Philando Castile.
And that's exactly what I'm pointing to.
Yep. He clearly told the police officer that as he was being asked to show his license and all that sort of stuff, he was trying to tell the officer, okay, officer, just want to let you know that I do have a gun in the car and I have a license to carry, open carry state, and I'm going to get you my license. So he clearly tried to convey to the officer that he had a licensed gun with the right to have it in an open carry state, and that he was going to get his license, and he was shot in the car where there was a baby in the car with, I guess, his girlfriend or what have you. He was killed. There was no justice or benefit of the doubt. Now check this out. When Kyle Rittenhouse shot the three individuals, he walked down the street with his hands up, trying to give himself up to the police, according to what he said in court. But check this out. Remember, it came out in the wash that when the police officers saw him and he said, hey, I shot someone, they told him go home.
Sure did.
Now flip that around. You got a hostile environment out there. You've got a black kid or black people out there with their weapons, and a black kid then shot some folks, and he walks down the street with a serious weapon in hand and says, hey, police, I just shot somebody. You think the police is going to tell him, oh, you just go home? Hell no.
I mean, can you imagine a black 17-year-old boy walking down the street with an assault rifle?
Right. And for all these
during a protest,
right? Really? But check this out, brother.
Yeah, that would have never
all of these black folks, conservative or not, on the YouTube streets that's been debating about, well, Kyle had the right to do what he did. Okay, it's not going to be nice when the rabbit has the gun. Now, I'm not really looking for it to happen because it'd be but when a black kid, a young black youngster gets out there with his weapon and he's underage and he ends up shooting somebody because they're chasing after him, according to what Kyle said they were doing to him and what was on the video. And when he shoots 3 dead or whoever did, I don't want to hear Negroes on YouTube talking about where's his mama? Where's his daddy? Oh, why that boy out there shooting? No. What's good for Kyle is good for the black youngster too.
So let me ask you about that, brother Info. Do you think that if it were, I'll give you 2 scenarios. If it were a young black boy who had shot 3 other black people, would he have gotten off? And likewise, if he was a young black boy that shot 3 white people, would he have gotten off?
I think that if he had shot 3 black people, he wouldn't have got off because they still would have put him in jail. Because normally if you look at it, when black people, when we are involved in any kind of firearms, we're going to jail. And if he would have, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if it had been if Kyle Rittenhouse was a black kid and he had shot those 3 white boys,
they would have murdered him on the scene.
The whole dynamic would have been different. And let's say he had a jury of 11 white people. Do you think
they would have shot him on the street? They would have shot him.
But do you think 11 white jurors in a judge would have been so cozy with a black young man who killed 3 white people? Would he have been able to get away with the self-defense? And I'm gonna be honest with you. because there wasn't much smoke and pushback on the father or the single white mother, right? Let's just keep it real. You know damn well if Kyle was black, a lot of folks on these YouTube streets would be saying, see, this is an example of the single black mother with the son out of control. What he doing with a gun anyway? Where's the father at? Well, I didn't hear anybody say, where was Kyle's father at? Where is Kyle's mother at? Right? What we heard is that, well, she was at work working hard and the father lived somewhere in Kenosha. Well, that's what I think would be happening. We would have a whole different narrative here. Even black folks would. Oh, he shouldn't have been out there with that gun like that. Oh, now he's gonna be prosecuted because he shot 3 white folks.
I don't know, man. It's just me personally. I didn't have much interest in what was going on with Rittenhouse because it's white on white crime. So that's white on white crime. So I didn't care much about it. I kind of paid more attention to the Ahmaud Arbery case. I knew they would all go down in flames. I had no qualms about it. The only one I thought that would get treated a little lesser was the guy who did the filming. I knew those two rednecks would go to jail. I knew they'd get convicted. The only one I thought who would skate is the guy who was holding the camera. So I paid more attention to that than I did anything else. But I didn't. I knew he would get off on the first 2. The only one that I thought might would have hung him, and people can hear me talking about this. The only case that would have hung him is the first guy he shot, Rosenbaum, because he shot him more than once. I thought that would catch him up. But once I heard them say not guilty on that, I was like, shit, he's getting off on all of it. Getting off on all of it.
Charles Merchant was saying, why do you gaslight yourself in situations that do not involve you? We're simply bringing up some scenarios here, brother. I did a video on this. I'm going to be honest. The 3 individuals that he shot had checkered to not so great past. I think one of them might have had some conviction when he was a little bit younger, I guess, with some child misconduct with a child. So certainly these were not individuals that I'm not standing up for the individuals. I think most black people were looking at this. I know I was looking at this to see how would the justice system work for a white boy under the guise of defense. And it actually did work for Kyle under that. So my question is that when black people go out to protest and they have weapons on them in states where they have open carry, and if a black, let's say, let me put this scenario out there. Let's say there's a protest and you have a young 16-year-old black male, and let's say you've got some Proud Boys out there, some Boogaloo Boys, some white nationalists out there, right? Who are causing up a stir. And they're chasing after this young black male, and he has to shoot 2 of them dead, like Kyle Rittenhouse. Would he get the same justice in that same type of state with a 11-man jury? Now, don't compare it to, you can't compare it to Arbery, because Arbery was the victim. Clearly, we could all see that he was the victim. And clearly, in that case, the jury did the right thing, even though they did not really meet the such a thing as peers of his own peers. Because what's funny about that situation is that in that area, 27% black, but they were only get 1 black person on the jury. I thought that was kind of strange. They're going to be looking into that too.
Yeah, and see, that was a point that I was making as
that
well.
was weird.
Yep.
But would a black young male get the same type of justice with that type of, where he has actually killed someone versus someone killing him in the case of Ahmaud Arbery? My best guess, because of what I've seen in the criminal environment that I've worked in, where I've looked at brothers their records, their C files, where they were defending themselves against perpetrators like that, they didn't get justice. It turned against them. I would say that there's a high chance that if it was a black kid and he shot 3 white people, there's a chance that he might have not gotten off that easy, because America already sees young black males as criminals,
as a threat. Yep.
as a threat already. And that ain't gaslighting, brother. That's freaking reality. And the reason why I know it's reality is not because of what I've read, but because of what I see. I deal with these kind of guys that have had their charges trumped up, people that are in there legitimately in there, and those that you can tell that their cases were chumped. And then you read the C files and you see, hey, this guy was defending himself in some kind of way. He got convicted. And then you look at the counties. This is very important too. You have to look at the counties in which people get convicted, the states and the counties. Is it a conservative county versus a more liberal county? That makes a very big difference.
Yeah, I think it does, especially when you're talking about trials, because where are the people coming from? They're coming out of that particular community, right?
Right.
So, if you got a community that's far left, you're going to have far left jurors. If you got a community that's far right, you're going to have far right jurors. I mean, that's pretty pretty standard. 2 + 2 is 4, as brother RBR would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you got conservative people in a community, you're going to have conservative people on the jury for the most part. And likewise, if you've got liberal people within the jury pool, you're going to have a liberal jury. I mean, that's pretty honest. But see, that's the thing, and when
see, Charles Merchant, he's giving good parables, but his parables mean nothing to me, brother, because I deal with criminals. I've been in these courtrooms. I've seen brothers' records. I've seen brothers that have, a matter of fact, I've turned brothers around, counseling them that have gotten out of prison, that are having a better life. And I've seen the trials and tribulations of brothers trying to get themselves out. And you realize, man, this guy has wrongfully been convicted. Or as a black male, you don't have to insert yourself insert yourself into trouble. You can get yourself in trouble as a black male just walking right outside your goddamn house. And I know that I don't have to tell brother Charles Merchant that he's a black man himself. But I know in my 52 years of living, there has been situations where I could have been wrongly accused of something that could have put me in prison that I didn't do. There have been situations where I was just walking in my community growing up. Matter of fact, I'll give you a perfect example. I said this on my channel just last week. I was in Baltimore visiting my uncle some years back when I was I was in college. I was in my 20s. And I was on my uncle's porch, had the keys to the house, minding my own business. And in Baltimore, those damn cops out there, they wear those ugly white shirts, and the majority of their cops out there are white, right? So it's something out of a damn Southern movie. And I'm up there minding my own business, not committing any kind of crime. And they rolled up on me. Start asking me for my ID. Hey, what are you doing here? What business you have here? I'm like, hey, hey, this is my uncle's house. I'm just chilling on the damn, you know how the row houses are in Baltimore. They got the row houses with the little patio, outside patio out the door. I'm just chilling, minding my own business. And somebody profiled me out there. And they come walking up there asking me for this and that. And then when they saw that I had a California ID, their eyes got wide, like, whoa, right? Because they thought that I was their suspect. But they started looking me up and down. And man, if things hadn't gone, just right for me, they could have freaking put me in a damn police car and took me down. I could have been wrongly accused of something, anything, because they profiled me and start asking me questions as if they was ready to arrest me.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it up to say I've had enough experiences like that to know, as a black male in society, you ain't got to be looking for trouble. You can just go right out your door. You can be minding your own goddamn business, and somebody can profile you and say, oh, he looks like the one that did it. What do you mean? I don't look like nope. What do you mean? Right?
Yeah.
We are, look, Ahmaud Arbery was jogging in the neighborhood. walking in the neighborhood. I have myself walked in neighborhoods where people were looking and saying, what is that guy doing here? I live in a goddamn neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Come on now. So I don't need, this ain't about proverbs, brother. This is about reality. Save your proverbs. I
Yeah. I
don't need
mean,
them.
I'm pretty sure most black men can tell that same story where they've been somewhere, or, you know, they've been driving somewhere and that place may have been more white than black. And also, if you're a black people from the hood, because the hood has a tendency to have more heavy-handed policing, you know,
Mhm.
than places that are not the hood, you're more
Mhm.
likely to get, you know, you're more likely to get profiled, you're more likely to get pulled over, you're more
Right.
likely to get fucked with, you know, if you're somewhere around the hood, because when they think the hood, they think everybody's involved with dope, or you're
Right.
trying to buy dope, or you're selling dope, or you got a gun, or you got weed
Right.
on you, or, you know, I mean, if you like around like the hood, I mean, because where are most of the police riding around, sitting by stores
Right.
and parked in
Mhm.
alleyways in the
Right.
hood?
Right.
I
Let me,
mean, that's just where they are, man.
yeah. Let me answer
Yeah.
this one, because Charles Merchant does bring up a good point here. I know where he's going with this. Who are you? Least likely? He had this spelled wrong. Least likely to be killed by. I know where you're going there. You're going to probably say that as a black man, you are you're less likely to be killed by other black men, because, and I read in this crime statistics tonight that, yeah, we do have a homicide issue that is out of control. But
That's
let me
one.
tell,
It's
but let
one
me,
word to that. It's proximity.
it's proximity. Let
People
me just say this.
kill where they
Right.
live. They just
Right.
do.
Right.
That's every
So you are
demographic is that way.
right. So when you look at, you're absolutely right, brother. When you look at, and I'm saying this because of the criminal files that I see at work, the majority of white men who are in prison, and remember, they do most of the aggravated and violent crime, and we do and they're at 45% in homicide rate. We're about 52%, a little bit above them, right? And it's a damn shame. We got to stop it. But you're absolutely right. White men who I see in prison who have done murder, they more likely have murdered a white woman or a white male. Okay. Black men, yes, because we're living in similar communities. When I see Asian men that are in prison, guess what?
It's the same thing, man.
Guess what the biggest crime is in Asian communities? Home invasion. Where I live at, they even have an Asian gang task force, because it's a big problem. The Asian gangs are not perpetrating their crime on blacks or white people. They're particularly targeting Asian people because they understand where Asians in their community hide their money in the household.
Mhm.
So they attack Asian people. So they have a big problem attacking themselves. When I look at the crime of black males being killed by other black males, let's just be honest. Just like what happened in McDonald's in Chicago. Sometimes a lot of this homicide comes out of black males that are involved in gang activity. They're getting into
Mhm.
battles with other people on social media. The guy that
Mhm.
got shot in McDonald's in Chicago when his daughter got shot, killed, he was just on social media going against somebody, and there was some gang involvement there, right?
Yep.
So a lot of black male homicide is happening because people are engaging in a lifestyle in the streets, in the gang, in the drug sales, and all this territory turf war. And then unfortunately, innocent bystanders get shot in these kind of environments. So, and most of the guys that I deal with in the pen who have those kind of charges, what do they all have in common? They are Crip, they're blood, right? It's not the regular everyday suit wearing, going to the business, going to the job type of brother that's being blasted like this, because most brothers that are of that ilk, we don't hang out and associate ourselves with people of that ilk. We may have somebody in our family that's in the streets, but we're not. For me personally, I grew up in that environment, but as I got older and educated myself and moved on in my life, I got away from people of that ilk. Growing up in that environment, yes, I saw terrible things that happened, right? But the reason why I believe that I didn't personally get harmed by those in my community that were into this and that is because I wasn't into this and that with them. I stayed in the gym, played basketball, went to school. They knew who I was. The guys who got killed in my neighborhood, they were involved in everything: drug sales,
Mm-hmm.
uh, getting over on somebody, robbing somebody, every goddamn thing. I'll stop there.
Oh yeah,
Right,
man.
right. You know, and
You increase your chances of being, a lot of innocent people find themselves shot dead too, but you increase your chances of being shot dead if you're always around people who shoot other people dead, and people are shooting them dead. You're increasing your chances of being shot dead if you are commingling
mhm.
with these kind of people. You're just increasing your chances. But
You
we've been joined by Brother Coffee. What's good with it, Brother Coffee? What you got, man?
Hey, brothers, thank you for inviting me up and information, man. Fred, how are you?
What's
I
going
like
on, oh 06, brother?
Yes,
Coffee,
sir.
good to see
Yeah,
you here.
yeah. I'm happy that you came up and brought those statistics up because often you find a lot of brothers that come in this space and females that will you know bring up statistics that are not true. Now, brother X, he do bring up the stats, and he try to meet everybody in the middle. I like what the other brother up here stated earlier, and you just got some guys that are not going to, come to grips, nor are they going to respect your opinion. But what you're speaking is not opinions. You're speaking, hard facts. I'm also an ex-correction officer, that worked in the prison system, and I see these things, but they're not reported. Now,
Right.
when I lived in Atlanta, I also used to work at UGA, and here I am, a supervisor working for unit housing and security. We work close with the police. Now, my boss was telling me, "Oh no, we don't need to arrest him." The white boy now, who was breaking into cars, had a gun on him and everything, robbing. Oh, we don't need to arrest him because he's the governor's nephew, and he's in the law program over there. He's just a kid that's going through something. You know what I'm saying? So, as soon as if I wouldn't have wrote a report, I would have, my job would have been taken, or I would have probably gotten a charge myself.
Mm.
So what they do, they try to make their towns look really good. And what happened in the town where Arbery was, people are finally waking up. See, these are these little towns that say, "Hey, we got our own little town. We're not going to follow the laws that are governed by the state of Georgia. We have our own little town. We'll have people, put money behind us. See, money wins out every time. But unfortunately, they still had people who were in the good old boy system, as you say, that that participate in quid pro quo,
Yeah,
and that's what we got going on, like in places like Georgia. The little the town is, the very small the town is, they get away with a lot of stuff because you got one sheriff in the whole damn town. Very little cops. It's very quiet. Quiet probably as in uh, when the crime is committed, they won't report it on the news. And they do that a whole lot, even in little towns like Vacaville, Dixon. You know this,
yeah.
because those are the towns that are really nice. So they keep things quiet.
Well, the Arbery case has so many different elements to it. Like there's so much that went on with that case. You talking about multiple district attorneys who recused themselves. One district attorney,
indicted.
she ended up getting indicted because she did so much crazy
Mm-hmm.
mess, and was trying to get these dudes off. She ended up with handcuffs on. So, it was like so much stuff went on with that particular case. But like I said before, there was no doubt in my mind that those white boys were going to jail. All right. I never thought it was going to be anything else.
And I want to put on the record here, because too many of these guys have called me pro-black. They've called me bean pie man, saying that I'm all just for black folks. And the only thing I do is talk about saying that oh, the white man did this, the white no, that's not me. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You know, I even had to wake up too because I was somewhat like these dudes. You know, when I went in law enforcement, they was teaching me go after all the black folks. I wasn't gonna do that because guess what? Even the other jobs I worked in Macy's, you know, loss prevention. My boss was telling me to go strictly after the black folks, and she was a black woman.
Mm.
You know, and here go grandma, you know, stealing all the goddamn diamonds out of the goddamn display case with rollers in her head and walking on out slow. Nobody said nothing.
Mm. Can
You
I
know,
can I leave you brothers with this tonight?
go
And
ahead.
Kwafi, you probably remember when I did the stream about how black young boys are seen as criminals in
Yes.
comparison to white boys. I'm gonna put that study in the chat room, but it's titled as this: Black boys viewed as older, less innocent than whites. Research find. This is why I brought up that issue about if it was a black young man that did that, how would the society look at it? They did a study where they took about 176 police officers. They did questionnaires. Then they took about 264, which were 264 mostly white females, undergraduate studies from a large public U.S. university. In one experiment, students rated the innocence of people ranging from infants to 25 years old who were black, white, or unidentified race. The study judged children up to 9 years old in equally innocent regardless of race, but considered black children significantly less innocent than other children in every age group beginning at age 10. This is research, gentlemen, where police and law enforcement, they age our kids. They see them as already monsters. And in this study, it specifically talks about that most police officers, when they have negative encounters with young black males, meaning they have had a scuffle with a young black male or they've had to deal with a young black male and things didn't go right, those officers are highly likely to be officers that will kill black men. So when their bad experience with us at our young age and how they see us leads to how they see us as black male adults when they also shoot us.
Mind
And
you,
this is a study. This plays into why we are chumped up with charges and why we don't get the justice that our white counterparts were getting. This isn't about playing the victim. See, this is the thing that bothers me. Why can't we talk about these things honestly and prove it out in the data without being called, oh, you're playing a victim? I'm not playing a victim. You can still do what you got to do as a man to be successful in this society despite all the odds. But damn it, we still have to be able to be honest about the damn data and what it says.
Exactly.
And don't let it stop you, but let it allow you to be aware. So I'm going to put that in the chat room right now before I get off here, because this ain't
Absolutely.
about just saying this shit. It's about showing you the data to prove it out. That's what I'm about.
and the last
Absolutely.
thing I want to say too, brothers, you got brothers like this brother here that you know constantly talk about somebody defunding the police and the cops is you're against the cops. We have been cops. We are ex law enforcement. We have done these things. We see them. We just had enough sense to not participate in quid pro quo issues. We decided to stand up. I'm not going to sit up there and let somebody do anything. I don't care if you're black or white, a black or white inmate. If you're doing something wrong as an officer, I'm going to tell on you.
Right. It's just that simple.
Simple.
But Prophet of Thought, thank you for your time. I'm gonna have to step
Absolutely, man.
down.
Absolutely, man.
This was a
I was
fantastic. I'm
I was
sorry I
hoping
wasn't on a lot earlier.
I was hoping you showed up for this one, man, because I know this is in your wheelhouse, man. I had hit you up. I was hoping you had showed up, brother Info. So I
Right.
appreciate you coming through, my brother.
And
Right.
by the
Now-
way, I like I like the one you did on Rittenhouse.
Oh, thank you.
Because he
Thank you.
showed up. Let me just say this real quick before you leave. Because he did show up thinking that those white boys were going to be on task with him. But he didn't know that these guys had criminal records, so they used that to say, "Oh, good, he killed the criminal." You know,
Right.
he's a
Right.
hero, but he was only
Right.
a kid in a Superman cape. I'm not blaming him. I blame the parents. And I also say, when you're scared like him at 17, I guess you would shoot somebody too.
Right. Let me say to brother Charles Merchant, I understand what you're saying, brother, that we don't want to play the victim. As black men, we got to start moving onward and upward towards the light. You know what that means, brother. You know what that means, brother Kofi. We got to start moving onward. I get it. We got to not let things hold us back. I totally get that. Totally agree that we can't let any of these things hold us back. But we have to understand what is happening in our environment. And it's just about being aware of what the realities are as we move onward towards that light. You get what I'm saying, brother Kofi?
Yeah, I do.
I
Let
agree.
me say this too. Let me say this really quick. And another thing, you guys got to stop thinking that every black man, because you live in the white neighborhood, that you're gonna be safe. You're not safe. There's no safe zone for you, period. I don't care if you light skin, I don't care if you dark skin, I don't care if you mixed. When you walk outside your front door, like Information Man said, you are liable. If you're not white, you're liable to be in a mistaken identity. And I mean, I didn't grow up in the hood. I didn't, you know, and they look at me the same way when I used to live in Atlanta and living in a nine bedroom house in Johns Creek, Alpharetta, where there is nothing but successful black people and music people, white people, all of that. I could not go to Walmart late at night without them stopping me, asking me why am I out at night in that
Right.
neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anything can happen if you run into the wrong cop. It don't matter if you a brother in a jumpsuit or an Italian tailored suit. If you run into the wrong cop, you could potentially have problems. I mean, I will concur that. I mean, because personnel is policy, right? So even George Floyd, if he had ran into a different cop, he may not be dead right now. He ran into the wrong cop. That's why he's dead.
Right.
I mean,
look at this guy. He's saying that's ironic. You would tell on a cop, but you won't tell on a drug dealer. See, this is gaslighting.
See,
at best.
can I address that? Because
go ahead, brother. Perfect.
Because this is the type of stuff that really pisses me off. Okay, nobody's saying playing a victim or anything like that, but god damn it, that don't mean that we can't state our fucking case. Why is it that black men are the only demographic? We the only folks that we don't get a chance. We don't get to state what the hell is going on in our reality. Everybody else can, but we can't. We're the only ones. We got to sit and just take the shit. We have to take these disparities in justice and just say, well, don't play the victim. We don't tell it to women. We don't tell it to the Jews. We don't tell it to nobody else. But we tell it to ourselves. Ain't nobody on this. I've never ever played nobody's victim on anything. But goddamn it, I'm gonna state the fucking case that this is what's going on in our reality, that this is what the disparity is.
Right.
It really pisses me off, man.
Brother, that
we're supposed to just take it.
You know that every child that's born to a Jewish couple, Jewish people make sure that all their children
they make sure that shit
are aware of the Holocaust. And they have
every
a
10
word
years they come out
called
with a damn Holocaust movie.
Right. They have a word called never again. So while Jewish people are successful in business and medicine and law and they're doing the damn thing out here, what they all have in common is that they teach their children the history of the Holocaust. And they don't say to each other, oh, you guys are playing the victim role.
Yep.
But black people, we're the only ones that will run around, even when we're successful as black people, and say, well, if you talk about the history, you're playing a victim. You say that to the Japanese who never forget what happened to them when they were put in camps. Reason why I know this, because I lived in San Francisco, one of the most international cities. I've been around Japanese and Chinese people. I've been in their households because I had friends growing up that were of those other ethnic, backgrounds. And when you're around them and you hear the things that they talk about their history amongst themselves while they're still out there getting it. And they don't say, oh, don't talk about what happened to us when we were put in camps, grandfather. They'll play the victim. They respect when grandfather tells them about what happened to them.
That's right. Don't nobody, I didn't hear not one person call the Jews crybabies or saying that they was playing the victim role when they come out with Schindler's List.
Well, what I think happens is that, because we do have some black folks who play the victim like a motherfucker.
That is true.
And what happens is they will lump an info man, someone who comes with the data and the stats and the research. They'll lump you in there with the same person who just plays the victim like hell. I think that's what kind of happens most of the time, where the distinction isn't made, right? So they'll look at you, even though you come in with all this data, stats, and research and numbers and percentages. They look at you the same way they look at the person who's just crying the fucking victim all day long. They throw you in the same bag, man. They throw you in the same bag.
What they should do is go troll Benjamin Crump. Go troll Benjamin Crump.
Let me tell you something. I get dudes like this all the time that does this, and they don't know. And I don't want to sound like how white people sound when they say, "Oh, my best friend is black." They don't know that my best friend is a big fat ass white girl with freckles in her face.
Oh, God.
You know what I'm saying? They live in Gastonia, North Carolina, where it's known to be racist. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that now, but even when we went to school together in college, and her mother. When she brought me home, my mom was like, "Oh no, don't." I said, "Hold up, ma'am. I'm not gonna marry her." I said, "We're just friends." And it took this woman. I get tired of trying to make people comfortable to accept us. Like this guy here, he came right in when Information Man was talking, saying, "Oh, look at him. He's very loud up there. He needs to turn his mic down." Okay, why should we hush up and turn the volume down? Every time a person is expressing themselves, it does not mean that they're loud or they're playing the victim or they're angry.
Yeah, I mean, I speak with a very passionate voice, but I'm not.
No, but let me tell you, Information Man. The thing is, with that type of person, they're quickly to want to say, "Oh, but he's going to make all of us look bad." According to who? According to who?
Right.
I'm not tap dancing with any of you acrobat clowns.
See, this just goes to show that society really have a problem with black men strongly expressing themselves. Even black folks got a problem with that. They have a real big. It's something psychological in their minds where black men are just not supposed to state their case in a coherent, strong way. And for me, that bothers me. It really does bother me. You got way too many black folks who just want black men to just shut the fuck up and just take it.
Well,
and for me, and that bothers me, man.
I have to agree.
Well, look. The bottom line is that he doesn't know any of us. He doesn't know our personal walk that we walk in life. And the bottom line is, when I go out into the world, I make sure that I'm aware. But I don't go out in the world saying, "Okay, the world's going to knock me down." I go out in the world, I do my job, I engage with different people, different races within my professional, sphere, and I go out there and I try to attack society and try to win and be a winner, right? But then I'm aware that, okay, if there's an obstacle that gets in my way of a racial nature, I already know in my 52 years what it is that I need to do to deal with that. So it's not about being a victim. It's just about being aware. And you still get up as a proud man every day and you do what you have to do to make it through this society, take care of your family, take care of your business, have your shit in order. And that's basically what it is. We're on here just expressing a situation, not expressing, but talking about a situation that is very real. And it's not always about playing most people who say that, "Oh, you're playing the victim role," is because they don't have any answers themselves to the solution of what we're talking about.
They're exempt.
They think that they're exempt. But then,
never happened to me. It'll never happen to me. And
that's the Horatio algebra.
But usually, what happens to people like this is that when they do have a situation that happens to them, they'll be the first ones running for Al Sharpton and the Benjamin Crump to save their asses. They'll be down. They'll be running to them. Somehow,
Al
I've been
Sharpton.
discriminated against. I've been mistreated. Al Sharpton, can you help me now? Let's just keep it real.
Candace did it when she was up at Stanford. Oh, they're discriminating against me. Well, stop tap dancing and go there and get your fucking education and stop trying to be a fool for friendship. Have friends, but mind your own business.
Well, what did Candace Owens do? You know that see, this is weird. Here you got, she's one of these conservatives, and people can be what they want to be politically. I got no problem. But what's ironic about her is that when she filed a discrimination suit, and guess where she went to go get her help? The NAACP. I rest my case.
There you go.
One of the most, perhaps the most useless organization for Black folks ever.
Got that shit right.
Let me say this last thing, y'all. I mean, well, not last thing, but
they haven't spoken for the Black community since the death of Dr. King, man.
Yeah, until X decided he's gonna shut it down. But I just want to say this to Charles Merchant. I've seen you other places. I know your talking points. You're in here gaslighting right now. I don't even understand how you became a moderator here.
Well, shout out to brother Charles Merchant. He's been following me ever since I had 2.7 subscribers.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you meet up in the middle, though, brother X, and that's the thing. That's what I like about you. But this kind of guy, you gotta understand that everybody ain't what he think they are. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. None of them mean nothing to me because I have been an independent Black man forever. Didn't grow up in the hood, never been locked up, never had a drink, smoke, or do drugs. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, he don't understand that there are some white pookies out here too.
Oh yeah.
And the white pookies, they just do theirs in a different way.
Who use victimhood to get paid? That's what I want to know.
Look, then he's probably the type that be right out there with all those white boys, hanging out, drinking and doing drugs and all that kind of stuff, and say nothing about it.
Anyway, I'm gonna get off. I'll let Charles Merchant. He's been gaslighting pretty good today himself with his statements.
That last statement, you use victimhood to get paid.
Well, brother Info, man, as always, man, I appreciate you coming through, man. We're gonna wrap it up in a couple of minutes anyway. And man, your input is always welcome, my brother. You already know.
All right. Thanks a lot, brothers. Thank you. Have a great night. Charles Merchant, brother. Relax. We're just having dialogue tonight on some very factual issues. We're not victims. Relax, brother. Go have a cupcake or something, or a chicken pot pie. Take care, brother.
Show and narratives and dialogues with Kwafi Nino.
All right, brothers. Take care,
brother. Info, peace, my brother. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man.
Just look at this guy. He sounds so much like a woman.
Any partner shots before we get out of here, man?
Yeah, my partner shots is that if you need a box of Tampax for men, I could find them for you. I can mail them to you.
Jesus. Brother Kwafi, man, I appreciate you coming through, brother.
Peace out. I appreciate it. And peace to the brother up there.
As always.
I like what you was talking about, not because we see things the same way, but it's in truth, Sometimes we have to see life for what it is away from what we think it should be. I mean, look at this dude calling out Al Sharpton. You could have did better than that. Stupid. All right, talk to y'all later.
Peace, brother Kwafi. And last but definitely not least, my brother, Perfect Black. Parting shots, my brother, before we get out of here.
Yeah, man, just to bring it back around, to the topic at hand, man, about the falsely accused. Like I said, man, and the falsely accused is
we drifted so far away from that, didn't we? But go ahead, you got it.
Yeah, we did, man. And sometimes that it'll carry you there, but yeah, for me, whenever I see some, a Black man being falsely accused, that's always going to be something close to me because it hits home to me. Thank God, that that I make enough to where I can defend myself enough to where I can pay for some defense enough to where nothing's going to happen to me. You know what I mean? So, but Black, it is. I don't think people understand. It's not crying to say to point this fact out. the black man, we're the most vulnerable, we're the most socially vulnerable demographic of all. I mean, it's very easy. We're vulnerable to false allegations, real easy. Just out of the middle of nowhere, just a false allegation, just come right up and go to jail. There's a lot of black men have done time, died in prison, based off just because someone said something that was false against them.
Yeah.
And if we don't speak to that, it's going to keep happening.
Yep.
And we're going to speak to it, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. So, God bless Charles Merchant, and those who feel like him. But I'm sorry, this needs to be spoken about. We need to speak up, on our issues. And just because we're speaking about it doesn't mean we're crying about it. Doesn't mean we're playing victim. Doesn't mean that we are a victim because we're stating, hey, this is what's going on to us.
Yeah.
And it's happening to nobody else but us.
Yeah.
So that's all I got, bro, man. Thanks for having me up, man. Thanks for having me up, bro.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, brother. Perfect Black. You already know what it is, man. Peace.
Peace, man.
Yeah, folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, man. Good stuff tonight, man. Got a little crazy. And shout out to Infantry Skills. I mean, I don't really have a personal problem with Infantry Skills. Infantry Skills has been around my channel for a long time, but he was fucking being disingenuous tonight, y'all. With the shit he was saying. So I had to block his ass. Yeah, fucked around and got blocked, because he was saying some shit that just wasn't true up in here, man. And the one thing is to express your opinion, man, but to just hold on to some shit that's absolutely positively not true. I mean, I'm not going to let you fucking do that in my chat room, man. I'm not going to let you do that shit, especially when there's proof to show otherwise of what you're talking about. But y'all was here tonight. Y'all saw the stats. Y'all saw the graph and the charts that I showed y'all. Okay, and there it is again. We're talking about the people falsely accused of murder, sexual assault, drug cases. Y'all saw it for yourselves. As a matter of fact, I'll take this here link and copy it and put it in the chat so y'all can read it for yourselves. Download it, copy it, do whatever you want to do. And this chart spoke to what we were talking about tonight, regardless of who came up here. Because, see, I didn't really have to debunk the talking points because the talking points were debunked at the top of the show, to be honest. They were debunked at the top of the goddamn show. So there was really nothing to debunk. But anyway, I'm going to say this, man, before we get up out of here, man. One thing we got to understand, man, especially when we talking about, our brothers like Brother Strickland here, who find themselves falsely accused. And usually when they find themselves falsely accused, man, a lot of times they find themselves falsely accused when they're young. I mean, when this man was locked up, I believe he was 18 or 19, man. I'll put the pictures up again, man, so y'all can see the contrast to what he looks like now and what he looks like when he was first locked up. His whole life was taken away from him, man. And I think that might have been lost as we were talking, because all the things we were talking about, like I just told Perfect Black how we got away from the conversation, man. Because that's what this is really about, man. It's about brothers who find themselves falsely accused, man, of crimes. And unfortunately, according to the data, brothers are more likely to be falsely accused, falsely charged, falsely freaking incarcerated. They are more likely for that to happen to them, y'all. The stats prove it. And not only that, when they're falsely accused and falsely incarcerated, they have a tendency to spend more time in jail trying to get themselves out, especially if the victim is white. Okay? Like I said, I put the chart in the chat. You don't believe me, pull it up, read it for yourself. But those are the facts. Those are the stats. And out of all of the people that find themselves falsely incarcerated, 47%, almost half of the people that get exonerated after being falsely convicted, falsely incarcerated, falsely accused are black. That's just the truth, man. It is. It just is. Now, I'll say again, most of the people that's in jail, their black asses belong there. They do. But when you have brothers like this, man, like Brother Strickland, brother Kevin Strickland is his name. 2/3 of this man's life gone. He's a senior citizen now. He went into prison as a teenager. I think now he's like in a wheelchair, all kind of health problems. And what's really sad is that in the state that he's in, even though he was falsely incarcerated for 43 years, he gets nothing. Because the state statute says what? You can only be compensated if you were cleared by DNA. He wasn't cleared by DNA. He was cleared by just straight up evidence and propensity of the law. Had nothing to do with DNA. So he gets nothing from the state. Nothing. But like I said, they do have a GoFundMe going for him. I believe the last time I looked, it was well over $1 million. So monetarily, Brother Strickland's going to be fine. But unfortunately, there's no giving that 43 years back. There's no giving him watching his daughter take her first steps, say her first words. That don't come back. I believe his parents died while he was in there. That doesn't come back. There's no bringing that back. And that's the real tragedy when brothers like this go through this, man. Because you wiped away a whole chunk of their life for no fucking reason. And I'll say again, man, legality don't have nothing to do with right and wrong, man. Because what they did to Brother Strickland was wrong. But no matter how wrong it was, guess what? It was still legal. It was legal, folks. That's the troubling part. That you can be wrong so greatly and it can be perfectly legal. And once it's fixed, you have nobody to bring to account. It's just, okay, we messed up. We set you free. See you later. That's it. But there are good people out in the world, and they have donated quite a bit of money to Brother Strickland. So I think Brother Strickland's going to be just fine. I would love to get him up here, man. I might even try to do it, y'all, because you know X has that reach. I might even try to get him up here. So stay tuned for that. But thanks everybody, man, for coming out tonight, man. I appreciate all of y'all, man. I appreciate the super chats and all of that. But most importantly, man, I appreciate your participation, man, more than anything else. Y'all know that shit means more to me than your damn money. All right. I appreciate you being here, man, because you could have been anywhere on a Saturday night, man, and you chose to be here. And it's appreciated, man. I don't take you lightly. I never have, and I never will. You got my word on that. Shout out to my man, Brother Info Man. Shout out to Brother Coffee, and shout out to the one and only Perfect Blackness, my Chi-Town brother, of course. I don't know what we're gonna be doing this week, y'all. I may not do nothing because I don't know. I just gotta see how things go. All right. But once again, man, I appreciate everybody coming out, man. You know, it's always a pleasure to be up here with you good folk, man. And shout out to brother Kevin Strickland, man. Finally free after 43 goddamn years. False imprisonment. Shout out to that brother, man, for staying strong and not cracking up and not doing something to, you know, get him in there longer or any of that, man. You know, shout out to him, man. He held strong. And, you know, I saw some footage of him, man. Surprisingly enough, he's not bitter, man. He's not bitter. He's not. He doesn't come off as bitter. You know, he just talked about how he tried to fight his case, man, and he knew one day he would be free. So shout out to him, man, for hanging tough for 43 long years. Doing time for a crime that he hadn't committed. With Negroes like us, we can't even sit tight for 4 minutes while another man tries to talk. Ain't that something? But anyway, man, once again, man, I appreciate everybody for coming out, man. And like always, man, I will leave you with 3 words. You know, like I always do. What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? About that? About that? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? About that? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about that? About that? What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? What about this? What about this? What about this?
What about this?
What about that? What about that? What about that?
What
What about that?
about that?
Only from T.P.O.T. Media. Open your mind.